up, everybody? We're back. It is day 2 of House Divided, the Jeff Ketchum, Chad Hastings experience, if you will. By the way, Reggie Radu or Rado in the chat, before we even get started today, how dare you? How dare you? Chad was in Lou Holt's voice singing The Eyes of Texas yesterday. How could you suggest that I didn't let Chad get a word in? He's saying The Eyes of Texas is Lou Holtz.
I just like that he called you Kirch. Hey, what up, Chad? What up, Chad and Kirch? Chad and Kirch. You damn right. That is fantastic.
It's our new, like Giggle Bunny. It's like the new inside nickname for those of us on the inside. Guys, glad to be with you today. Again, day 2 of Chad and I in this new endeavor together. Like the video. Like, I haven't even seen how many likes we have, but maybe it's like 4 or 5 because we're just getting started. Like the hell out of that like button. Smash it. Subscribe to the channel. We've had an incredible spike in subscribers in the last 24 hours. Keep helping us do that. Get notifications. Get your super chats in.
Hey, Ketch.
We will, I don't want to say you become the teacher's pet, Chad, but kind of.
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying that we will treat people who super chat with us.
Oh, yeah. No, we treat them. We'll treat them well. We will treat them well. They get to not just sort of be in charge. They get to be in charge. And today, this is what the Aggie's going to do for you. Day 2. By the way, day 2, House Divided. Johnny Manziel, Jonte Cook. There you go. Day 2, Colin Simmons Super Chats. That's what I think we need to hit hard and heavy today. Jeff Ketchum, remind me, is Colin Simmons a 5-star?
He is.
$5 and up, and Ketch will talk about Colin Simmons.
And you know what? That's fair, because yesterday it was like, give us the A&M Texas score in the last time. You don't have to necessarily go 27-25 with your super chats.
I do appreciate the people that went 27-25 with their super chats. And hey, if you want to be the kind of person that is into history and send us $1,883 for the year Texas opened and $1,876 for the year the Aggies got started, you can do that too. But today, Ketch is ready to tell you all the little details, all the little nuggets, what he's hearing, what he's thinking about Colin Simmons. $5 and up. If you go $4.99, Ketch is going to look uninterested. $5 and up, super chat, and we'll talk Colin Simmons. We'll put them wherever they are in the show. We will try to answer all of them today.
Chad is doing his auctioneer best right now.
Colin Simmons. I loved auctioneers when I was a kid, so let's do it.
Auctioneers were like the Harley Davidson bikers of the day. Like, honestly, when you were a kid, was there anything cooler than the auctioneer guy?
Ketch, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to need a little country voice for this, but let me tell you, when I was a kid, go hang with my granddad out in the country out in Cisco, Texas. He'd take us to an auction. We'd go out in the middle of this field, right? And they just had stuff, everything from tractors to fishing equipment to toolboxes. And this man would walk around. He didn't need a microphone. All he needed was a mother of pearl snap shirt and a cowboy hat. And I followed him around all day, and he was just all day. All right, what do we got here? We got some spinner baits. Spinner baits were going to start about $2 a bag, $2 a 3 to 3 to 4 and a 5, 5 and 8. And I'm just like, yes, that's awesome. So I love me some auctioneers. I've been to as country an auction as you can get, auctioning off tractors and bathtubs and everything.
I would watch that on television. If that was a Netflix series,
it was
Country Auctioneer. If that was the name of the show.
I wanted his autograph at the end of the day. My granddad said, he goes, hey, are you just going to stay right here? And I said, wherever that guy is, that's where I'll be.
That and like bull riders at Gillies back in the day, like on the mechanical bulls.
Yep.
The West Hightowers of the world. Woo! Getting me moist over here, Chad, just thinking about how sexy those men were. All right, you said it. If they came in with the super chats, we'd come in with the super chats. Yeah. I just wanted to say, we recognize. See, Chad went in with the super chats on the Colin Simmons because I told him, I think Colin Simmons will move the meter. I think every time we mention that we're talking about Colin Simmons today, and we put that out on social media, the number of people watching the show will spike.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk Texas football practice. A&M opens up today. We do have Billy Liucci at 1:20. He's going to do it from the studio for which he does the Feinbaum interviews, we hope.
Yeah, I need the Feinbaum treatment today, Billy Liucci. Yesterday, we could say it might have been these folks on one side of the house. I need you to step up for the maroon side of the house today. I need you to pretend like we are Feinbaum. Come on.
Adam Gorney, Rivals.com national recruiting analyst, the man who's ultimately responsible for Kelvin Banks not getting a 5th star 2 years ago.
Is that
and
right?
Only being a high 4-star. He's going to join us in the final hour of the show today. Again, talking some Colin Simmons. The initial super chat of today's proceedings.
Get right to it.
Buy or sell. By the way, I know that's like the UTSA, APPTT, where I said yesterday I would just call him 80 Deuce or something.
Hey, he might be literally giving us his address. UTSA apartment 802. Ladies, if you are looking for him, he's in apartment 802. Buy or sell. Colin Simmons commits to Texas.
He's literally at apartment 802 at UTSA. That's 802. Fantastic. We've solved the riddle.
Go ahead, Ketch. Tell him.
Look, this Colin Simmons thing's gotten tricky, Chad. For those that don't know, the single most important prospect in the 2024 class out of Duncanville High School, pass rushing savant. He takes his official visit to Texas at the end of June, Chad. And I think there are people that behind the scenes would tell you Colin Simmons all but committed to Texas. Had such a good visit, gives indications that he's going to Texas. Since that visit, there had been a lot of speculation that he was going to commit early July, second week of July, third week of July, sometime in July. Okay, now it's going to happen in August. This past weekend, he takes a visit to LSU, which had long been the perceived number one. But then the thought was, it's closer to home. He's got a little brother that he wants to be as close as possible to. And so that's an advantage for Texas. NIL, there's a lot of advantages that Texas seemed to have in place. But he goes to LSU this past weekend with who I think is a 5-star running back in Caden Durham. Again, out of Duncanville. Those two guys go to LSU together this weekend. They come out of the visits. And yesterday, both announced that they're making their college decisions on August 10th. Now, that is media day at Duncanville High School, which I think it's fantastic that your high school football program is so badass that there's a media day.
I think it's cool when they're badass enough to say, are you telling us when? Oh, no. I'm just telling you when I'm going to tell you. That's it. I'm not telling you. I'm going to tell you when I'm going to tell you. That's
so
awesome.
There's this So there was already like the decision was likely coming on August 10th, no matter what, I think.
Okay.
But coming out of this LSU visit, people are nervous. And talking to sources over the course of the last 24, 48 hours, like, yeah, there's some real nervousness that LSU has made this thing really competitive in a way that it really wasn't just a month ago, really. Buy or sell, Texas gets Colin Simmons. I'm a buy. But it's not like I don't even know if it's an 85% buy. Like I don't even know if I'm Chad, you may not get the 85% joke because that's what I said about Kyler Murray when he visited Texas after his visit, that he was 85% going to Texas.
I'm just going to basically, I want everybody out there to know I'm going to spend, as long as I get to do this with Ketch, I'm going to spend my time trying to get him to go to those places and stand on those walls to give y'all stuff to talk about for the rest of your lives. That's going to be my goal.
You're going to try to recreate 85% so that there are more taunts that come my way.
I will try to get the taunts come 85% or it's Austin, whatever it is we can get, whatever it is through the years that when people get on you, it amazes me, but I'll try to help create some.
We're creeping up on 9 years since that happened.
Dang.
And I'm still getting 85% like on the daily. So look, yes, I think Colin Simmons is going to Texas. But like, I don't know whether I would make a mortgage payment on that. Whereas a week ago, I would have. Maybe that's the best way to frame where I am. I wouldn't quite put thousands of dollars on it.
Okay. You're smelling gumbo.
I mean, I'd do some gumbo.
Yeah. It's starting to smell more like gumbo than it did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And look, from what I understand, they did a really good job of when he was in town, it sounds like they hit on a number of different areas and that those punches penetrated. LSU's got a pretty amazing record of producing NFL players at his position and other positions on defense. Not quite as strong as Texas. I mean, Kwiatkowski did a really good job at Washington, but it hasn't quite yet happened at Texas. Doesn't quite have a reputation with prospects of that size. So, I think that there are things that Texas has to address. I think they're still fine, but yeah, man, the hackles are raised a little bit for sure.
Okay. So 2 things, Ketch. First off, that we had a $9.99 super chat come in. It just said, let's get it started. I don't know if that just meant in general or if they wanted us to sing the Black Eyed Peas, but thank you for let's get it started.
I had it up. I thought I was giving Texas boys some love.
You did. Wasn't that the Black Eyed Peas? Let's get it started.
No.
That's not them? Who's Let's Get It Started?
Is that Black Eyed Peas? That song sucks.
It's not good.
I may have blacked that out, but I do know.
Were you and I doing the show together when there's one redeeming thing that happened in the later part of The Office with James Spader, and it was his rip on the Black Eyed Peas. His line about the Black Eyed Peas are a rock band for people who don't like rock and a rap band for people who don't like rap and a pop band for people who don't like pop. I thought that was fantastic. That's what I think of when I think of the Black.
Blake's letting us know that it is the Black Eyed Peas that did that song.
Thank you. Yes, it is. How dare you question my Black Eyed Pea knowledge?
I will never do that again.
BEP for life.
I will never. I don't know what's wrong with me, quite frankly. How do we get to a point where I question that?
I was with Fergie all the way back to Kids Incorporated. So, all right. So I'll read this, even though, oh, good Lord. $5 super chat. Ketch, I know you're a big Liverpool guy, but go Magpies, away the lads, also hook 'em, and poor Aggie. Now, okay, look, $5 super chat doesn't mean we're going to read every single $5 super chat. We're going to read every $5 or up super chat that is about Colin Simmons. We don't need any soccer.
Well, no, we'll sneak in. We'll sneak that in.
All right, what is it? What does that need? What reaction does that need? Please,
I don't know that it needs a reaction. I would say congratulations, Argo Nath, in that I thought your Magpies made a proper good signing today. They signed a fullback named Livramento, Chad, Billy Livramento from Southampton. Really good young player. I think
you really have become a soccer guy, because I bet you when Texas got Malik Jefferson, you did not say that's a proper good signing.
It did not. Hey, if I was really trying to prove how many podcasts I'm listening to from the Premier League soccer in Liverpool, I would drop the C word on you.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you know you've been listening to too many English people.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, the C word, which is one of the 2 or 3 worst words that you can say in America, right?
That's a rough one. It's a rough one.
I think it's number 2. Number 1 is clear, right? But number 2 is less clear. I think it may be the C word. And like in Liverpool and Newcastle and London, they drop that word like we say ass.
Yeah, they put it in lunch orders. I mean, they're
yes,
they don't care. Like
and nobody gets offended by it.
When they're at the diner and they're shouting from the back the names of the orders, when they shout it to the cook, the C word is in probably every order.
It's weird. I've heard it so much, and no one's ever offended. No one ever clutches their pearls. And yeah, so FYI, don't put the C word in the super chats, but I'll acknowledge a good. I'll acknowledge, Anyway, let's move on. Thank you for sidetracking us, Argo Nath.
Yeah, way to go. See, I knew that was gonna happen.
Well,
by the way,
I saw the $5 and I was like, let's dance.
Earlier, Ketch, I saw somebody say it's radio on the internet, and we appreciate that comment. So, of course, I just came out of the radio world where I was fired, and I'm trying to figure out this new career thing. Ketch, you'll be proud of me. I listened to Anwar and the Old Fashioned Show this morning in my car.
Cool.
I got the YouTube apparently was already on my phone. All you old folks that think you can't do this, it was already on my phone. I clicked on it. I found the show, and I listened to Anwar and Alex Dunlap breaking down the first Longhorn fall practice. So please get YouTube on your phone. You can listen to us just like you might have listened to us back in the day, or you might have been listening to, your favorite show a few weeks ago that now no longer exists. This one does.
You feel a little less old now.
Yeah.
Like at this exact moment, you're less old than you were 5 minutes ago. Because yesterday you really leaned into the what's a cell phone? You know what I mean? I was like, now you've got an app.
Right.
You're good to go.
Yep. I don't know if the 85 mini helmets behind me are helping at all, but
No, they're not. They're not. But
they're
like baby steps.
By the way, did you notice we got tonight's matchup ready to go? Hall of Fame game right there. Jets, Browns right there.
Is that tonight?
Tonight, Jets and Browns, 7:00 NBC.
Dude, I am so college football focused right now.
Yep.
Here's what we're going to do.
If you want college football, I got Texas and Rice ready to go right there. Texas and Rice for you.
You know what? You're coordinated. You got.
I'm good. I'm even learning. You got to coordinate. That's right. You can't just have the mushroom suspenders. You got to have the mushroom belt. And today you got to have a little Mike Evans. This is a little house divided for you. A little Mike Evans camp T-shirt.
Do you know? This is my segue.
Yeah.
30 days until Texas Rice.
Heck yes.
So it's Bryant Westbrook Day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Which I know I say Bryant Westbrook. Do you think Randy Kinder or do you think Leland McElroy?
I think Kinder first. I think it's, and not just because the McElroy was against an Aggie. I'd go Kinder. I think it just had a little more impact. It was at home. That pop was incredible. The Keith Jackson. The important thing now is for Randy Kinder to find a place to lie down. Like everything about that moment makes it the one for me. Leland's close. That's obviously a big-time hit in a big-time rivalry game, but I go Kinder. And I know Texas fans have a lot of hits to choose from, but of the two Westbrooks, I go with Kinder. What about you?
I think I'm McElroy because I was on the field for both of those.
Oh, that's nice. I was there for McElroy, but I wasn't on the field. I was in the stands.
And the thing, I just think that 95 Aggie game is for me, it's the most memorable game between the two teams in my lifetime. That's just for me.
Right. Yeah. It's the most physical college football game I know I've ever seen live. Where I'm there, it was as much of a bar fight of a football game as I've ever seen in my life.
You got to remember, just what was it? The year before, that was the I'm not going to kick it to Leland McElroy game with Makovic.
And
he kicked it to him. No, McElroy didn't take it to the house. I think he took it to like the 3. But
I forgave him for that.
You did it,
Yeah.
It's good of you to do that. Texas fans kind of held that against him. Like they just added it to the stack of things that they held against John Makovic.
Yep.
But I don't know I'm thinking of all of the college games that I've ever seen in person and been able to watch from the field. I was on the field when Ricky broke the long run against A&M to break the record. And yet something about that 95 game, it really felt like the turning of the tide in the series. And it really was. I mean,
well, look what happened after.
Yeah, as soon as 95 happens, the series and the rivalry kind of flips on its head. But what a physical game. Like, it was bare knuckle fighting. It was the most honest to goodness bare knuckle brawl game that I've ever seen those two teams play in person. There have been other versions of both of those two teams that I've seen in person where they bare knuckle fought the other one to death pretty quickly.
Right.
Like, just we've seen maulings happen. Yeah. But we always talk about it's rare when you've got these two teams good at the same time.
They did in that one.
And in that game, they both mattered.
They did. Yeah, you're right. 1990 is also one of those games for me, real close and everything where they both fought hard. But yeah, that was a fight. You're absolutely right. That's a hell of a memory. But yes, 30 days away does put us in a little Bryant Westbrook spot there. So Texas.
So can I give you the cherry on top of the sundae with that?
Sure.
So I made a tweet about Bryant Westbrook and that hit. And I had somebody reach out to me on Orangebloods and say, Bryant Westbrook is like one of my best friends. I'll get you his number so that you guys can have him on the show.
Nice.
And I was like, I don't remember the last time I've heard from Bryant Westbrook. He's truly one of the great all-time Texas players that probably doesn't get the love that he deserves because he wasn't on those Mac Brown teams. But holy crap, he was good. All right, look, here's what we're going to do. We're 30 days away from the season opener. When we come back on the other side of this break, we'll dip into day one Texas practice and what stood out to me. Today's also day one of Texas A&M football practice. So a lot of actual football stuff to talk about on both sides of the fence here in the state of Texas. When we come back, small break. We'll be right back. This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the most infamous recruitments of the last decade, a recruitment that ended with what has forever been remembered as Malikmas. Malik Jefferson was a five-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 28 overall prospect, the second best prospect in Texas, and the number one outside linebacker in the country, according to Rivals.com. While Jefferson is sometimes remembered for never quite emerging as a superstar for the Longhorns, look at who was ranked ahead of him in these 2015 in-state rankings and just below him. While Kyler Murray should have been the number one prospect in retrospect, Jefferson was easily the best of the top kids in the Rivals rankings that year. What most people remember about the Jefferson recruitment is that it was a close victory over Texas A&M and seemed to launch the Charlie Strong era into the stratosphere. For most of the recruiting process, Jefferson was leaning heavily to Texas A&M, but when the Aggies went through a defensive coordinator search following the 2014 season, Jefferson and A&M coach Kevin Sumlin had a bit of a disconnect, as Sumlin wasn't very open with his plans for a hire, which Jefferson felt was critical information to any decision that he was going to make. That disconnect opened the door for Strong to step in. When Jefferson made his announcement on December 19th, 6 days from Christmas, Strong was able to completely swing the recruitment into UT's direction.
Jefferson chooses the University of Texas at Austin.
Jefferson was part of a 2015 recruiting class that finished 12th in the nation in the final Rivals.com rankings in what turned out to be Charlie Strong's first full recruiting class as coach of the Longhorns. We're back at Hastings, myself, house divided. Time to talk some Texas Longhorns practice from day one. Chad, can you get overly fired up from anything that happens on day one?
Yes, health. That's what you can get fired up about.
Texas
health.
People in the chat will be upset that you mentioned the H word.
Hey,
right? Because when you are healthy, you don't ever want to mention out loud that you're healthy, but Texas is a healthy football team right now.
Yeah, and I was, today I spent some time going through the Orangebloods.com, the notes that Alex Dunlap put out. He was on with Anwar earlier doing, an incredible job telling everybody. And of course, Anwar was at practice yesterday too. But I love here's the first day for me is, you're obviously you're looking for the health part, seeing pictures of, and that's another thing. Check out orangebloods.com for that gallery. I love that stuff too. You can get a sense for what these guys are looking like coming off of the summer. But Ketch, to see Whittington smiling, to see number 13 smiling for Texas and at practice was great. You get a look at Nair and that the knee brace that he's still wearing, but as Alex Dunlap points out, a thinner knee brace, and apparently he's getting around very well. So that's good. And then the other thing to me is the Becton effect, the body stuff. I think that matters. That's what I look for, first college basketball game of a year, first college football game of a year. When you first see these guys, what have they done in the summertime? I think that's big. So definitely check out those notes from Alex, because Alex goes player by player and lets you know kind of what they look like, whether it's Sorrell or Murphy on the defensive front or somebody on the offensive side. So that's what I'm looking for day one, and feels like there's, good things going on for Texas.
A couple things that stood out to me. I'll go to the photo gallery that you mentioned that Jason Sukumel put together over at orangebloods.com. Christian Jones is a freak of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that we always talk about, like, who's your first off the bus guy? Christian Jones is a first off the bus guy. And more than anything, you realize this is what it looks like when a guy's 5-6 years into college weight room program. I mean, he's a massive human being no matter what, but everything about him looked full-grown man-ish. And then you would see pictures of younger freshmen, sophomore offensive linemen, and you almost want to take those guys and turn around and point to Christian Jones and say, 4 or 5 years, remember those old milk commercials? I'm not big now, but I'm drinking milk.
That's right.
In the next few years, I'm going to be with the prom queen on homecoming. Like, it was just, that literally stood out to me. I was just like, holy crap. He looked like Malik Murphy standing next to the quarterbacks. That's what Christian Jones looks like standing next to other Texas offensive linemen. He just looks like their uncle, which is funny to me that now I think of Malik Murphy as both Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning's uncle.
Yeah,
he's just massive.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother thing right there.
I thought the offensive line was really interesting because we spent a lot of time talking, even on Monday when Kyle Flood talked to the media and said, I feel like we've got 8 guys. It was kind of interesting. I think Alex Dunlap and I talked about, it'll be interesting to see on day one, where are those 8 guys situated? So when the offensive line comes out, and you really did have last year's starting offensive line in place, which means Hayden Connors at left guard. You've got Jake Majors at center, and then you've got Cole Hudson as your right guard, with Jones at right tackle and Kelvin Banks at left tackle. I think we all wanted to see officially, like, who's going to run out with the ones at right guard, because at the end of the year, Hudson was struggling and injured. DJ Campbell now running behind him at guard, which I think is kind of expected, but you wondered what would they do with Cam Williams necessarily, because there has been some conversation that if Cam Williams is one of your 5 best offensive linemen, where would you put him? And I think there's been some thought, if you can put him at guard and maybe that makes your offensive line better, that he would be better than either a DJ Campbell or Cole Hudson option. But for now, he's at right tackle on that 2 deep offensive line. And then over at left tackle, or left guard, you've got NATO, who I think, those are your 8 guys. Those are the 8 guys that they're talking about. And so of those 8 guys, none of those guys play left tackle, and none of those guys play center. And I think we did wonder, would somebody line up behind Jake Majors to really represent someone challenging for that job? I think on day one, it didn't look like that. I also thought it was interesting in the secondary. We talked about Jalen Catalon yesterday, the Arkansas transfer. He's in the starting lineup on day one after not participating in the spring. That was kind of surprising that they didn't make him start in a position on the second team. We even talked about there's a world where he starts on the third team. And then, by the end of the first week, he's running with the ones potentially. But on day one, to have Jalen Catalon in that first team secondary, I think is a real revelation with regards to what they want to do from a personnel standpoint.
That definitely stood out to me, Ketch, when I was reading Alex Dunlap's breakdown of it. And he said that setup, that first defensive setup, tells him something every year. We talk about what do you learn on that first day. He's felt in the past like that lineup actually does matter. And then you're back to the H word, to have Catalon out there. Anybody who's watched him play, if you've been around the SEC a little bit, me being an Aggie, I've watched A&M play Arkansas year after year after year after year. I remember what it was like when he was healthy. And for Texas fans, that could be just a treat, an extra helping of dessert on your defense if that's the guy that's there right away, providing that kind of leadership and just being a badass.
Look at the linebacker position as well. No surprises. So you roll out with Jalen Ford in the first team defense. Duh, right? But next to him, David.
Wait, hold on. You said Jalen Ford. Okay, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's
good. That down. Yes,
he's good.
Yeah,
and it's so funny that he's good. And last year in the opener, he made 0 tackles.
Right,
and it was like, is Jalen Ford good enough to be the starting middle linebacker for Texas? And then at the end of the year, he's getting his number retired, I think. But so David Benda's out there, and then you've got Maurice Blackwell, who's playing kind of in that DeMontre Tucker Dorsey overhang linebacker position when they actually do have 3 linebackers on the field at the same time. But then you look at the depth behind them, and like Jet Bush is still on your 2 deep. And those freshmen outside of Anthony Hill haven't yet moved their way up the depth chart. And so, I hate that Jeff Bush is like a 2-letter word for personnel that Texas fans think need to be replaced. Because I think they were frustrated when he was playing that buck end position, Chad, because it was like, God, how do we not have a Colin Simmons? How do we not have a Colton Vasek or an Ethan Burke? How do we not have some badass scholarship player who's not better than Jet Bush? And it's like, well, the coaches look at Jet Bush, they just see a really good football player. And I think we all know Jet Bush is a good football player. But I think there's a feeling, I think it's fair, that Texas has to have better football players than Jet Bush on the field if they want to win championships. And that's at every position. Like, you got to have more Xavier Worthies and more Quinn Ewers, right? So when I saw Jet Bush, I'm reminded, oh, yeah, that guy still has eligibility. He's starting to feel like one of the guys, like Jordan Shipley, like he's been around for a decade. Like, it feels like that.
But
like
plan.
The young kids haven't yet, that one of the nation's best linebacker classes hasn't completely overtaken the depth chart yet. And by the end of the year, maybe they will have.
I think it to me, the way I've phrased it is, I think every fan wants to have guys that get to play, not guys that have to play. And I think Texas fans have had the feeling over the last few years that too many guys are having to play. They want to see guys get to play. So I was going to ask you about a couple little battles there. That right guard situation for you, would you like to see the youngster step up? Do you think Campbell can run him down at right guard? And then Anthony Hill on the defensive side. Do you see enough talent with those guys that you think they're going to be able to claw their way into like starting by midseason, starting right away, starting by Tuscaloosa? I mean, do you think it's that type of a battle?
First of all, I have to acknowledge Sal in the NYC.
What up, Sal?
Like, Sal, just so you know, I asked Chad about you like 48 hours ago.
He did.
I was like, hey, Sal still calling in from New York City?
He made my list. Yes, he made my list of great, listeners, callers, texters that I wanted to make sure to mention at the end of the radio run. Sal from New York City is still calling in. He is still repping his New York teams. He loves to make fun of the New York people when they need it, and he's still following the Longhorns. So yes, shout out to Sal.
Sal warms my heart. Thank you very much. To answer your question on that offensive line, I'm not sure. There's a part of me, I'll be transparent. I rated DJ Campbell as a 5-star.
Okay.
I always am wanting to see the higher recruit play.
And this is Campbell sophomore year?
Yes.
Right. Okay. True
but it's
sophomore.
Cole Hudson's sophomore year too.
Okay.
And
see, I had him as a junior. Okay, I got you.
But
yeah, same year.
Hudson came in last year for the spring, whereas Campbell came in the summer.
Okay.
So Hudson had the advantage of playing in the spring, had those whole 15 practices advantage over Campbell. He stayed in the lineup. The coaches played Hudson over Campbell in that starting lineup all year long. And there's a part of me that's like, well, Kyle Flood is playing Cole Hudson. He knows more than we do. He sees these guys every day. But there's a part of me that's like, DJ Campbell's got the higher upside. Now, why do I think that? Because I ranked him as such. So, I do wonder if I'm being unfair to Cole Hudson, who last year, according to the way Kyle Flood sent his players out onto the field, was the better guy. So I think DJ Campbell has the higher upside. That's who I want to see on the field. But there's a part of me that wonders, okay, who is this team's sixth lineman? Is it Cam Williams? Is it DJ Campbell? Is it NATO over at left guard? Who is the guy that they really feel like is their sixth guy? And is he really their sixth guy, or is he really a top 5 lineman? If Cam Williams is your sixth guy and he's your third tackle, but he's better than your guards, do you move Cam Williams over to guard? And if you do that, what are you telling DJ Campbell potentially? Because we are in this era where guys are entering the portal every 5 minutes if they're not happy. Yep. And look, you and I, Chad, really never had this conversation before because we didn't do a show when the portal existed. I'm okay with guys going in the portal and doing whatever they feel like they need to do to be happy, right? Go live your life. And I like that there are no restrictions on these guys. If they could just go be somewhere else and be happy. And like, to me, that's what matters more than anything else. I just like to see these guys have success in life and be happy. But, a guy like DJ Campbell, he's a 5-star offensive lineman. He could have gone anywhere in the country. I think there will be an expectation that he gets his ass on the field in a starting level capacity by the end of this year. And if he doesn't, what is that message to him about where he really is? Like, at some point, Cole Hudson's just better than him? Maybe. I mean, Cole Hudson starts all 12 games this year. Presumably now he's started 24 games or whatever in his career, and it continues into year 3. So I'm really interested to see what happens at that position, because I think there are consequences for the decisions that get made this year. And I think when we have the conversation of what is Cam Williams, does he make your starting offensive line better if you move him to guard? If you do that, what message are you giving to the other players that are competing for that spot? I think those are question marks that Kyle Flood will probably be asking himself throughout camp is, what's our best 5?
Right.
And is our best 5 really our best 5? And if it's not, what do I have to do to make that best 5 a best 5? And what consequences potentially exist in a world where, and look, I'm just talking out loud, like DJ Campbell in this situation might not be third in the pecking order, but he could be. And believe me, Chad, a lot of people want to see DJ Campbell get on the field, and everybody likes to see their 5-stars turn out to be badass 5-stars, right? I mean, who was the last offensive lineman that was just drafted by the Kenyon Green? Like, when that guy pans out, it's like, oh, yeah, he's a first-round draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it's awesome when your 5-star linemen are 5-star linemen. And I think they see Kelvin Banks as that guy, and they want to see DJ Campbell do the same thing.
Yeah, and by the way, that was wishful thinking for you. I believe that's Houston Texans, but I wish it was Dallas Cowboys.
What was I saying?
He was, I mean, and obviously he was a great story, at A&M. I like those guys. Sometimes you have to play the young linemen, but then they really grow into something special and you figure out, oh, wait, it was good that they maybe got some of that young experience. Aggie fans would obviously go to Jokel and Matthews from back in the day. But yeah, and it really sucks too. I'm watching this chat roll by and somebody threw out maybe whoever loses that particular battle is going to transfer. So who would you start if you knew one of them was going to transfer? That's not the silliest thing to think about. And like you're pointing out, coaches are now thinking about that. So it sucks. Instead of thinking, man, we're deep. If that's really a battle, that means we're deep. No, it might mean one guy might transfer. That sucks. Overall, I agree with you on transfers. I do think they need to set the boundaries on when doors can open and close. But in general, I mean, that is where we are. Are we ever going to have a national champion in college football without any transfers? Like ever again? We're not one, right? Never. And even go to the smaller roster sports. Are we ever going to have a men's or women's basketball champion?
Those days.
Right. None. What did Kim Mulkey just pull off? 9 of them? I think she re-racked 9 in a year.
And Chad, in those sports, and I would even argue in baseball now, because look what LSU just did in baseball.
Baseball, right. The best pitcher they had.
It's more important for your head coach to be able to recruit the portal than it is to be able to recruit high school players.
Yeah. Back in Mac Brown's day, it was I needed to recruit Ricky Williams to stay. Now he's got now you have 15 of those at all times.
And I will say, I think schools have done a good job of protecting their assets. Because I'll give you an example. Last year, you and I weren't doing a show, but I think I mentioned this name when I would come in on Fridays. Kentucky wide receiver Barry Brown was all freshman SEC last year. Well, their quarterback goes into the NFL draft. They don't have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. You look at what happened to Pitt a year ago when their quarterback goes into the draft and suddenly, the best wide receiver in the country is like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. I think I'll go to USC.
The Bolitnikoff winner wants to transfer.
Correct.
Crazy.
Because he has options.
Yeah.
And because you're in a situation where my dogs say hello, by the way.
Oh, the first appearance of Ketch's dogs on the new show.
Fantastic. I would make I'm going to strangle my wife kind of a joke, but you can't do that in 2023 at all. What is the limit you're allowed to just say out loud? Oh, I'm going to shake my fingers sternly at my wife for not having those dogs put somewhere.
You're the one that said Rocky, you know what, yesterday. So I don't know what the rules are anymore, Ketch.
I'm just saying, metaphorically, really you can't, because you used to say things like, I'll kill somebody or, oh man,
Hey, the other day, remember when the Braves had the 8-3-5 triple play?
Yes.
I went on the air and made fun of the 2 base runners because it was so stupid. You had to have that level of stupidity to create it. Somebody texted me that I was being too mean. I hope you really don't feel that way. These are full grown men.
It's
you called
I'm going to kill somebody. I promise I'm not.
Oh,
I shouldn't say that. It's a mean thing to say, but I promise you I have no homicides on my record. None.
Ever. I'm not saying they are stupid. I'm not saying they are morons, but they made a stupid moronic thing. They made it. That's moronic base running, and I got made fun of. So yeah, you can't make fun of many.
I'm pretty woke, but occasionally I just say these expressions that, don't take them literal is what I would say.
Yes, please.
Occasionally you may hear me say, I'm going to kill my dog. I love my dogs. Yesterday, Chad, I was watching a 13-year-old video of Spanky and Brady because I love my dogs.
Yeah, that's awesome. The old school videos will get you. The old dogs.
Oh, they did.
Oh, dude, when you see a video of the dogs that aren't around anymore, my God. You go down
and cry on the show.
Don't go down dog memory lane. That'll get you.
All right, let me let everybody know because we may have some new viewers in here. Billy Liucci is going to join us.
Yeah.
In a half hour-ish. Says he's going to be in the studio.
I want that Feinbaum Wi-Fi.
Hey, can you correct? I've been saying Connor Weigman forever. Is it Weigman?
I've been going with more of a Wegman.
Well, we got to sort that out then.
Yeah, well, let's sort that out. You know what? He has not been consistent enough, I think, to get – and also they didn't get to him in time in 2022 to really, lay all that out there. So I've been going with like a Wegman. Connor Wegman is what I've been going with. We'll ask Billy.
I don't want to go to break yet. Like, here's what we'll do. We're going to skip the break.
Okay.
Because I'm in a groove with you right now.
Would you like me
Aggie
to
practice? And here's the deal. We'll get Superfan. We got buy or sell coming up in like 15 minutes.
Yes. And we're taking 5-star super chats about Colin Simmons. $5 or more on a super chat. Ketch will talk about Colin Simmons.
We'll take your super chats no matter what.
Yes. Super chat on anything. We'll take that too.
And if we see good questions in the chat, like, look, Cotton, no.
That's great. That is great. You know what? When I was a kid, Ketch, the Honeymooners episodes aged in a certain way. But I remember as a little kid listening to Bang Zoom to the Moon, and I thought to in my little developing brain, I thought, you know what? Ralph doesn't hit her at all. That's what I thought. I thought Ralph doesn't hit her. Never thought. And then years later, they don't age the same way.
No,
everybody's losing their mind talking about Ralph Cramden hits people. I don't think Ralph Cramden hit anybody.
I don't think he ever actually sent Alice to the moon. Like,
let me
they were happily married.
Well, and I also respected her character enough to know that if Ralph had tried to send her to the moon,
she wasn't about playing that.
She'd have been mission control out the door. Like, dude, you're out. Bye, bus driver. Gone.
By the way, Rodolfo wants to know what's going on with Savion Red. Is he about to hop in the portal? Rodolfo, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, multiple people talking about Savion Red already.
And, but look, here's the deal, man. And I've been talking about this. Look, in the spring, there was like a Savion Red renaissance. Texas fans wondering how he's going to be in the offense. And I have been, and I say this because I don't want to make it sound like I'm anti-Savion Red. But they're 5 deep at running back. And Keelan Robinson missed the spring. But the last time Texas played in an actual game, Chad, you want to remind me who they started at running back?
The last time Texas played in an actual game, they started
Keelan Robinson.
Keelan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they were running in between the tackles and not very well.
Fans were wondering where Jonathan Brooks was.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you've got yesterday, the running back order was Brooks, Robinson, Blue, CJ Baxter, then Savion Red.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is converting to the position, right?
Look, Savion Red is not good enough to stay at wide receiver. Otherwise, he'd be a wide receiver.
It's a thick room he's dealing with there.
They move him to running back, and it's a position. And look, it doesn't get any easier. They got 2 badass running backs committed right now. I'm not saying that Savion Red's not a really good football player. I'm telling you that he wasn't good enough to play wide receiver, and he's 5th on the totem pole right now. So, Rodolfo, the question that I'll give you, it's okay to use this as a blanket statement. Any guy on the depth chart at any position that's 4th or 5th is got a foot in the door in the portal.
At least thinking about it, right?
It's like, I don't know. Maybe there's something. Look, I've been preparing for the show, taking phone calls, talking to source, and getting war room stuff ready. If something's happened in the last couple of hours with Savion Red that I'm not aware of, my bad. I'll hop on Orangebloods in a little bit and try to catch up. I'll make sure I haven't missed anything in our Slack channel. By the way, do you like Slack? Are you getting used to Slack?
I dig it. Yes, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, once you start using it, it's hard to think about not having it.
Very cool. Yeah, I like it.
I don't know that Savion Red's ever going to matter at Texas. And I don't mean to be mean to Savion Red, right? I mean, either we're going to have real conversation about the football program and what our expectations are, or we're going to placate people and be sensitive to everybody's feelings and participation trophies for everybody on the depth chart. Ketch, it doesn't matter who plays at right guard. Bless DJ Campbell's heart and Cole Hudson's heart and Cam Williams' heart. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Guys, just be happy. Be happy that you're on a college campus and have a scholarship. Like, there used to be a world where I guess you could kind of say things like that, but these dudes want to play.
Austin, Texas has never been in that world. I'm sorry. We're talking about Texas. Texas football, you can't do that.
I'm not going to tell you that Savion Red's going to be a starting running back for Texas ever. Now, look, maybe I'm wrong. I think he's a good player, but I don't know that he's better than any of these other players. And his problem right now is that while Keelan Robinson's kind of second on the running back pecking order, he's more of a gadget guy. Well, we know how they really will likely use Keelan Robinson.
Yeah, I think he could be more than that, but I agree with you. I think in Sark's mind, he's a gadget.
But I think Keelan thinks he can be more than that.
Yep, and I do too.
Jeff Banks said the other day, like, look, Keelan Robinson knows that if he wants to play on Sunday, he's probably not like an every down back. He's going to have to return kicks. Well, here's a special teams guy. He's going to have to be a gadget guy on offense.
Yeah. Ketch, here's another way to think about Savion Red. You're talking about he's down at fourth or fifth on this list. We're talking about a coach that couldn't figure out when and how to run the ball when it was Bijan and Roshan. And Savion Red is staring down the barrel of I'm the fifth guy the next year. How in the world am I? If I'm a Texas fan, I don't know if I can trust Sark to effectively figure this running game out. But if I'm Savion Red, 5 layers deep, I mean, am I really in running back meetings thinking, you know what offense is going to really show me off? This one. I don't think he can guarantee himself that right now.
Well, and look, those are the breaks, man. Like, I think if you were to ask me before this conversation started, what do I think will eventually happen in Savion Red's career? I think he'll eventually transfer. I think he'll end up at a school like SMU. And I think he'll have a really, really good college career. Might even have a chance to play on Sunday someday.
As what? What position? What is he in your mind?
That's the thing. I don't know. People keep on, like, they want to say anytime that there's a guy who's a tweener between running back and wide receiver, people call everybody Deebo Samuel. Oh,
wow.
He's the Texas version, Chad, of Deebo Samuel.
Is that all?
Yes. Whenever people say that, I'm like, you realize that, like, Deebo Samuel's the best player on that San Francisco 49ers team.
Yeah, and to be fair, he didn't really become Deebo Samuel until he got there. Like, he was kind of that at South Carolina, but not really. I mean, but yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's what we all want. We all want that out of our tweeners, but that's very unrealistic.
Because if Savion were like Deebo Samuel, he's the first guy you put on the field.
Oh, God. You run jet sweeps all day.
It's like, wait, what do we do with our Deebo Samuel? Oh, he's over there running 15, coach.
Get ready.
So we do this thing where every guy now, it used to be like when I first got in the business, Chad, if you were a 5 foot, 10-inch white linebacker, you were going to be the next Zach Thomas.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't happen a lot now. But the thing that Zach Thomas created at the end of the 90s was that every all-district 5'10", 180-pound linebacker had a father who was like, my son can be Zach Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Thomas was only 5'10" and 180 pounds in high school out of Pampa, Texas, before he went to Texas Tech, right? The legend of Pampa, Texas. And it got to be where everybody just assumed that 5'10" and a good football player at linebacker meant Zach Thomas, here we come. And that's what people have done with Deebo Samuel. It's like, well, he's not fast enough and explosive enough to be a wide receiver. So we're going to move him over to running back, but he's not ideal there. By God, Deebo Samuel, there he is. And it's like, well, no. Debo is the highest of the high end of the food chain of players with that kind of profile. A lot of those other guys transfer to smaller schools and never get heard from again. Some of them transfer to smaller schools and have really good careers. I think Savion Red's going to be a good college football player before it's all said and done. His pathways to playing at Texas are really tricky. He's at the running back position right now, Chad. And we'll wrap this segment in this hour up with this conversation before we get into buy or sell. No one graduates from this running back group other than Keelan Robinson. So you're fifth right now. That might only improve by a spot next year. But then you've got Jarrett Gibson coming in, who's a national top 100 running back. And then you've got Christian Clark coming in from Arizona, who's probably a guy that they might put that guy in the Keelan Robinson spot immediately when he gets here to get him on the field. And so suddenly now you're competing with that guy for snaps. So I just don't know that unless he's just much, much, much better than I think he is or where the coaches think he is right now and having him on the fifth string, the fifth running back, it's just really complicated, man.
Yeah, if you're a Texas fan, with all due respect to Red, that's not a guy that's going to be involved in a conversation. If he becomes involved in a conversation, we all know what that would mean.
I want to say thank you to Jacob Freeman. He says that the A&M roster is saying it's Wigman.
Wigman. Okay. Connor Wigman. Wigman. Okay. Straight up with the wig. Okay. Wigman.
Am I a bastard for saying that I like Weigman better?
No. Well, I was going with more of a Wegman, but hey, Wigman, that's fine.
This is turning into very Joe Theismann, Tony Dorsett.
Yeah. Kind of
type of.
Yeah. We'll double check with Billy, but that's okay.
Wigman. Okay, I can remember that.
Thank you.
I got no hair. He's a Wigman.
Hey, it's important. The pronunciations are big. There were people that didn't know if it was Robinson or Robison early on.
Mama calls him Wigman. I'm going to call him Wigman.
But eventually the badass at number 39 became Robison, and then Roy Oswalt eventually was Oswalt, not Oswald. So you got to say I'm right.
Roy O. I miss Roy O.
By the way, on behalf of every Aggie on earth, we would love for Wigman to become like either one of those guys I just mentioned.
Yes.
Can I get that level of talent, please?
You want in 10 years to be like, remember, Ketch, we were having that conversation. We didn't even know how to say Wigman's name. How crazy is that now? He's the best quarterback in the world.
Right, exactly. That is what I want to have to do.
He's the new Bucky Richardson. All right, look, when we come back, it's everybody's favorite time of the day. No, not Billy Liucci, not yet. That's still like 20 minutes away. Buy or sell is next. We'll be right back. One of our very first Orangebloods recruiting flashbacks will focus on a player that went on to become one of the best running backs in the history of the sport. Jamal Charles was a high 4-star prospect by Rivals.com when he signed with the Longhorns in 2005, finishing number 57 overall in the Rivals 100 and number 4 overall in the state of Texas. Personally, I had Jamal Charles as a 5-star prospect on my Lone Star Recruiting Top 100 list, but I have to admit that I wasn't head over heels in love with him the first time I watched his junior film as a prospect. It's hard for me to admit this out loud, but I actually had questions about his speed and whether he was really as fast as his track exploits suggested he was. Ultimately, he was scoring touchdowns as a junior at Memorial by such wide margins that he really never had to open up his speed on the field as much as he just seemed to coast. It didn't take me long to figure out that questioning his speed was one of the dumbest things I've ever done while working in this industry, and that's probably saying something. The most dramatic part of his recruitment might have come on the day he decided to commit to the Longhorns, because when he picked up the phone to call running backs coach Mike Haywood, no one was there to take the call. Charles told Jason Sukamel of Orangebloods.com that he would call Mac Brown back the next day and make it official. And that's exactly what he did. The hit rate for the class was exceptional. as Charles was joined by the likes of Henry Melton, Roy Miller, Jermichael Finley, Roderick Muckleroy, Quan Cosby, Chris Hall, Charlie Tanner, and of course, Colt McCoy. When it's all said and done, and you look back at the last quarter century of Rivals.com ranking prospects, Jamaal Charles is one of the greatest Longhorn prospects that ever lived.
Hey, Jeff Ketchum. You remember the day Mac Brown discovered Jamaal Charles was good by accident? Remember when that happened?
You remember the Nebraska game?
Remember that day in 2007 when Mac Brown, because of an injury, oopsed his way into, you know what? That Jamaal Charles is pretty good. That's right around the time I got fired the first time back in 2007. I always remember that game. I asked Mac Brown on the talk show, well, Nebraska is like 108th against the run or whatever it was. I was like, does that really get you to focus in on the run game? They don't, Chad. Just because they're that bad against the run doesn't necessarily mean that that we're going to run. And I thought, it doesn't? But, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I always loved that Jamaal Charles game. It was so weird how I
have a Jamaal Charles buy or sell question for you.
Excellent.
Wild as fate would have it.
Perfect segue.
I want to remind everybody, and look, I looked at my DMs during the break.
Yeah.
Billy was like, I'm going to be in my office and have one of my employees troubleshoot before he gets on there.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I didn't see that until just now. So hopefully he still has enough time to have one of his employees do it.
And your first question can be about Connor Wigman.
Wigman.
And we'll double check that.
Because I had a follow-up Wigman question.
Yeah.
And then we just didn't get there.
The best thing one of the great things about Billy is Billy develops not only he's got relationships with coaches and he's got different sorts, but he knows these players too. Like
he'll know his name.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He'll know that name. We'll ask him.
So Billy's going to join us in less than 20.
Yep.
Let's play buy or sell. Let's just jump right into it.
All right.
I'll go first today. I've got 5 questions.
All right. Go ahead.
Buy or sell number 1. See if has Blake put that up there. Okay, I'll just say it. Okay. Margot Robbie is the sexiest actress in Hollywood for your money in 2023.
Buy. It's close because I'm a superhero guy. Gal Gadot ran through my head there for a second because I think she's super sexy. I think she's incredible. But what Margot Robbie can do with just the camera focused on her face and her doing nothing is captivating. So between Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and what she pulled off in Barbie, I'm going to say yes. That's a buy.
I'm with you, Chad. It's an absolute buy. With no disrespect to any other amazingly beautiful woman in Hollywood.
Who else is in the category for you right now? I put Gal in there. Is there anybody else you throw into that category? Beckinsale used to be there. Maybe she's not anymore. Beckinsale's incredible.
See, I think that's my issue is that I have a bunch.
But you also said sexiest. Sexiest doesn't necessarily mean prettiest or hottest.
No, I know.
Like Gina Gershon in her prime could be the sexiest.
You just did what I was about to do. You're going. We got to figure out. We have to get the under 30 list.
Right.
Otherwise, I think I think Rachel McAdams is hot, but then she was in that Margaret movie recently, and she looked like Jennifer Garner.
Yeah,
like she literally transformed into Jennifer Garner, and I was like, oh my god! Like all of the women that I think are hot are like all moms, which is not a bad thing.
We're a little older. But
Margot Robbie's in a category where she's Barbie.
Yeah,
and it didn't feel like, I don't even know that Barbie did her justice. Buy or sell number 2. Jimbo Fisher finishes his A&M contract.
We're at year 6. Buy. It's a buy. I think
really.
Yeah. I think he does. I think there's first of all, I think there's a commitment thing where I think they're going to want to see it through, but I do think there's going to be enough improvement this year where it'll feel like it's going the right way. We'll get into when we get into talking. I watched the whole Jimbo press conference yesterday. He is so interesting and he looks, he looks a little fried out in some ways. But I'm going to say bye. Right now, I'm going to say bye. I'm going to be positive and say bye.
Anthony jumped into the chat to say that Haley Atwell is on the list now.
Oh, she's beautiful. Good call, Anthony. Good call.
She's in the new Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
And the thing about that movie, I wasn't really familiar with her. So, when I get home, I'm a barbarian, right? I'm just a simple man.
Right.
I tap in like Haley Atwell sexy into Google just to see what the pictures look like. Because I'm always assuming I'll get like the red carpet pictures. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Curious, like, how sexy is she? Holy cow. I did not.
You're looking around for your kids.
There are parts of Haley Atwell that the movie Mission Impossible doesn't completely focus in on.
Okay.
But when she wears dresses and outfits on the red carpet, I turn into Jerry Lawler.
Oh, I see. It's one of those things. Okay, good. See, you're speaking my language now. Yeah,
I turn into Jerry Lawler when Stacy Keibler goes into the ring. I turn into Jerry Lawler all of a sudden.
My favorite of all time, I think, was when he was holding the Sable Playboy and he was reading, and Jim Ross tried to get his attention. King couldn't. He says, "Don't bother me. I'm reading."
All right, back to buy or sell. Question number 3. I told you I had a Jamal Charles question.
Okay.
As college players, Leland McElroy greater than Jamal Charles?
Wow. As college players, Leland McElroy greater than Jamal Charles. I'm going to go buy because the Aggie coaching staff actually realized he was good in time.
I think you might be right.
Had Jamal Charles been thought of a little better from the beginning? Maybe. But also
Jamal Charles started on a national championship team.
True. That is true. But also as an all-around player, too. Throwing in Leland's kick returns and all that kind of stuff. Barely. I'll go Leland.
It's a conversation.
It really is. No, you're right. But, I'll take my jab at Mac Brown and that coaching staff for stumbling into Jamal Charles. The Aggies did not stumble into Leland McElroy. They knew he was Leland the whole time.
It really is one of the great crimes that Mac Brown committed against humanity, that it was almost the end of Jamal Charles's career before he realized, like, I've got one of the best running backs that have ever played the game in my backfield. And
what did he have against Nebraska? 190?
No, it was like 3-something.
Or 290. What? Maybe it was 290 that day.
I had to look it up.
Unbelievable. And if a quarterback doesn't get hurt, are we even saying his name? I don't even know. I mean, we'd say his name, but not like we do now.
The crazy thing about that is that Ricky Williams had games like that every week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Ricky Williams had 215 for breakfast.
It was like Ricky in 300-yard games. Like, that just happened. And it was never weird.
Yeah.
At no point when Ricky was popping off 300s did it ever feel like it was like, it's just Ricky.
Oh, yeah. No, he was special. Obviously, these two guys were too, man. Those two guys in their prime in college were unreal.
All right, buy or sell number 4. The Super Chats. And actually, I think I skipped a question. So, Blake, I apologize. Thank you for hanging in here with me. Yeah. The Super Chats have made you openly question yourself in private over the things you'd be willing to do for someone else's $2.
Sell. We ain't gotten there yet. It's only day 2. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
No.
Just saying.
No.
All right, final buy or sell question of the day. And it was supposed to be the second question, and I messed it up. Buy or sell. Jalen Ford repeats his production from 2022 into 2023. 4 interceptions, 10 tackles for loss, had like a bazillion tackles.
Yeah. Man, oh man, repeats his production. Boy, I think it's going to be a hell of a year, but I'll say sell just based on the math in terms of getting everything that he did and 6 straight weeks of creating a turnover and those kind of things. It's tough to put that together again. Out of respect for his 22, I'll say sell, but I do want to see how that defensive front helps him out this year. I think he could have a hell of a year. It just may not be that full. It may not be as full of a resume this year, but I think he's still a badass.
Chad, it's a hater answer, but I think it's a hater correct answer. I think one of the real interesting things about this defense is if Ford regresses to the mean just a little bit, right? Not 6 straight forced turnovers, like you mentioned, not 4 interceptions, who is there to pick up the slack? I don't immediately have an answer.
Yeah.
The defense being able to provide one is a real important piece of whatever happens this year to both this defense and the 1-loss record. When we talk about 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, whatever, like little answers to little questions like that will really be paramount to whether or not they get to each of those levels.
It's a good point. Good point. All right, Ketch, you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Buy or sell for Mr. Ketchum. Buy or sell. Ketch is a Cowboys fan.
Sell.
Your concern level for the Ronald Jones suspension is a 6 or higher out of 10.
Sell. By the way, everybody who survived the Charlie Strong era knows it's not Ronald Jones. It's Roland Jones. And no, I am not concerned.
I'm so sorry.
Roland, he misses a couple of games. I don't think it matters. I don't have super high expectations. I think the Cowboys will be fine with Tony Pollard. Whatever Roland does this season, I don't think it impacts the record one way or the other. So I'm less than that, actually. Sell.
Jerry Jones called Dalvin Cook. Dalvin, take your money down a little lower, please. Please. Good grief. All right, Ketch, buy or sell number 2. If you had to put $1,000 on it right now in a super chat, you'd say Colin Simmons to LSU.
Sell. I'd put my $1,000 on Texas.
Okay. Buy or sell number 3. Let's go realignment. The Big Ten should get rid of Maryland and Rutgers, add Washington and Oregon, and get a better 16.
Buy. I mean, yes, if there's a way where you can just cut bait with your weakest members, but at that point, can't the SEC look, I'm new to the SEC, so I don't know who I get to kick to the curb and not. But if we kicked Vanderbilt and Missouri out and added Florida State and Clemson, would we be okay with that?
Same kind of argument. I'm one that just I want to stay at 16. So you could rearrange it, but I'd like to stay at 16. I don't want to hear about a conference going to 20 or 24.
I just feel like Rutgers is like, why are you trying to take the acorn out of our hands? We're just a little squirrel trying to get a nut.
That is fair.
Give me buy or sell 4.
We'll get to SEC, by the way, on the 5th one. But first, buy or sell number 4, Ketch. You have a favorite Michael Jackson song, and it is PYT.
Sell.
Ooh.
I do have a favorite Michael Jackson song.
And it is
PYT's easily top 5.
Okay. What's the favorite?
Remember the Time.
Remember the Time. Interesting. Got another Michael Jackson question coming for you in the crap bag. That's why I decided to preface it there. All right. Finally, Ketch. Let's go SEC. Buy or sell. The SEC should expand even more past 16, and Florida State should be a part of it.
Buy.
Okay.
Add strength. You're not adding. Look, some of these. What's good for the Big 12 isn't good for the Big 10 and the SEC automatically. So you start talking about these Arizona schools or Colorado. Hey, good for you, Big 12. Obviously, the Big 10 and the SEC at this point are looking to be really selective. And if you're talking about Clemson and Florida State, you make the moves for I think, institutions like that. But beyond that, yeah, you're not thinking and you're not adding unless it's somebody that moves the meter. And I think Florida State and Clemson do move the meter.
So that is buy or sell. We do it every day at 1 o'clock. It's one of our favorite things in the world. Let me see if I get this right. Remember to search Orangebloods Live. Remember to like. Remember to subscribe. Remember to get your notifications. And even like I did today, get it on your phone so you can listen in the car. And yes, to one of our, chat folks today. There are some of us that haven't done that a whole lot in terms of pulling up the app but I had to teach people how to do that in the radio world, Ketch, and it is a huge help because it means you can go wherever you want and take us with you. So we appreciate the folks for doing that. Ketch,
real quick.
Yeah.
There's like 400 people in the chat. Guys, hit the thumbs up button.
Come on now.
We're not even over 100 yet.
Where are those likes?
Like the button. Smash, like the cool kids on YouTube, Chad, say smash. Smash the like button.
Smash the button, bro.
I always do weird voices when I say I do not feel comfortable saying smash the like button.
Does anyone say brah anymore, or does that make me old?
You're old.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that actually lately.
Smash. What is it the kids say now instead of, they'll just use one word, bet. Just bet.
Well, I think my generation invented that, I think.
Your generation did, really?
Yeah, I said bet all the time when I was a kid.
All right.
That is not a new thing.
You know what my generation had? The cool beans. You remember cool beans?
We had that going. We're like the same generation. Yeah, and my generation never said cool beans.
No cool beans. Okay, fair enough.
Did you say cool beans as a teenager?
No. It was actually people a little older than me were saying.
I was gonna say, is that a tennis crowd thing?
No, it was a football manager that I heard say cool beans. And I thought, I'm never saying that. He also said no bueno, and I thought that sounded a little bit dorky the first time I heard it.
A little dorky. By the way, for those of you in the chat, when we're going to go to break in a second, get ready for Billy Liucci. Chad and I actually were doing a show very early in our tenure when Michael Jackson died.
That's correct. Another reason I brought Michael up today. There's a very specific reason I'm bringing him up today. But yes, we were doing a remote
NBA draft.
NBA draft.
It was that place outside West Campus.
Didn't it have the word Quattro in it?
You got it. It was Quattros.
Yeah, we were there, and that was a big day in reporting big time stories, because that's the first time you and I both said, "Wait a minute." CNN just reported it and cited TMZ. And we were like, what? Because there were so many. You and I were both just in disbelief. We chose not to believe it for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then we realized, oh my God, Michael Jackson's dead. 09.
We were like, man, TMZ is so legit now that on one of the biggest stories of the year, right? Maybe even of the decade.
Right.
Michael Jackson's died. Yeah. And it was crazy.
It's the one you can't get it wrong.
I've never forgotten.
Yeah, one of those things you cannot get wrong, and they had it, and they've broken a few since then.
All right, let's do this, Chad.
Yep.
We're going to go to break. Presumably on the other side of it, Billy Liucci, TexEx.com. I have a present for both of you.
For both of us? For me and Billy?
It's related to Rocky Dennis.
Oh, God.
So when we come back, my Rocky Dennis-ish tribute, you guys are going to love it. It's not nearly as bad as you think it is. It's Sam Elliott. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
It's okay, right. Chad. It's okay.
All right.
See, I got him to calm down.
Okay.
It's next. We'll be right back. This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on the player generally considered to be the greatest Longhorn football player of all time. Vince Young was a five-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns in 2002, finishing as the #1 overall player in the nation. 20-plus years later, the two things that stand out the most about Young's recruitment was how much ground the Longhorns made up in a blink of an eye. Weeks before his senior season began in 2001, his mother reported that Texas was out. Quote, "We ruled out Texas as Vincent has decided that he probably won't stay in the state of Texas to play in college," Miss Young said. In just a matter of months following that statement by his mom, Vince Young was pretty much wrapped up to go to Texas. The other thing that stands out about Young's recruitment was just how big he was in the city of Houston. I went to a playoff game with Madison against Hightower in the Astrodome, and opposing fans were jumping up in the stands over the excitement that Young was creating. I wrote for Orangebloods.com at the time, quote, "At that point, the Astrodome crowd started to go crazy. People in the Hightower section were high-fiving each other, laughing, and screaming in amazement," end quote. It was unlike anything I've ever seen before or since. On the day he committed to the Longhorns in January, Vince said, quote, "There's a lot of love down there at Texas, and that's what I was looking for before I visited. They made my mom smile, and that's all I needed to see. I committed to them this afternoon." Young was the bell cow of a 2002 recruiting class that was ranked first in the nation and is regarded as one of the best in the history of the school. That class signed 6 five-star prospects, which also included Justin Blaylock and Roderick Wright. Ultimately, Young's class was the foundation of the 2005 national championship. Oh, wow.
How about a little John David for you?
Look at you.
Since we're going to talk to Billy Liucci, I thought we'd give you a little Aggie love coming in.
Is that in a frame?
It is in a little bit of a frame. That's our man Bo Edge right there that got me that autograph. He also got me the John David autographed mini helmet. I have that too. That's still in the – it's the only one I leave in the case because it's important because he signed it.
We literally just lost a subscriber.
Is that right?
Somebody saw you put the John David Crow autograph card up and desubscribed.
That is sad.
Unsubscribed.
It's okay. That's all right. Sometimes, Ketch, minds are like parachutes. They only function when they're open.
We're going to talk to Billy Liucci of Texags in just a second, Chad.
Yes, that's true. Is he giving me? Are we getting the Feinbaum treatment? Are we going to get the Feinbaum tech?
I don't know. He's sideways at the moment.
Because I felt like we got treated like we were coming from some backwoods radio station in South Carolina yesterday.
No, the answer to the trivia question is at the moment we can't. Oh, we're close.
Come on. I love that you're seeing this. I'm not seeing it. The people aren't seeing it. You're doing play-by-play. No. I'm not seeing. I'm going off of your play-by-play. I enjoy that a lot more.
I thought we were both looking at this. Well, look.
No. Remember, you're at a higher level still than me. Like, you guys are bringing me in slowly to this whole internet YouTube page thing. And so right now I'm on like level 1 and you are.
Well, look, I'm going to get that fixed because it helps for you to be able to see what's going on behind the scenes, just so you know. Whoa. We just lost him.
Okay. See? Yeah.
Like, I see that. You don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I was literally about to bring Billy in, and then Billy.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I don't know. I was just about to go to Billy, and then he disappeared. Billy was horizontal.
Like, that's crazy. So, of all things, John David wrecked a subscriber. Like, if I'd have held up a Johnny Manziel picture, I guess that would have made sense.
Don't do that. 5 might unsubscribe.
I mean, John David? Really? John David. No
I
respect
was looking
to
at
John.
it. We were at 15,840. You held that thing up. Someone canceled their subscription. All right. Hey, joining us right now from Planet Texags.
Oh, come on.
It's got a football and everything.
Okay, this looks a little more Feinbaumish right here.
It does look a little bit more Feinbaumish.
This fit now. Yeah, he's gone. Now he's gone.
And he we got disconnected.
My theory is, Ketch, I'm starting to think that that we're in the middle of a Billy Liucci bit now. I think he goes on Texags. He talks about how he Okay, you guys, I don't know if you know, but I know you know who Jeff Ketchum is. You guys all hate him, right? Well, there's that guy, that guy Chad, that Aggie that for some reason talks to Longhorn people and actually has real conversations. Okay. They're doing a show now, and I'm going to go on, and I'm going to wreck it every time. I'm going to pretend like I don't know how to do it.
Billy couldn't be a bigger legend in Adland if he tried, but in our show, there he is. Billy.
Yeah, baby.
Can y'all hear me?
You sound great.
We got you, man.
Okay, I'm taking the AirPods out.
Ooh,
there you go. Uh-oh.
He took them out, and then it went black. Is that bad or good?
It's not good. Whatever it is.
Oh, no.
Bronny called and knocked me off, even though he had.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Was that Billy whispering about Bronny? Did he just whisper about Bronny? Was that Bronny James whisper? Did y'all hear that?
I thought he was talking about Ronnie Millsap.
I thought he said Bronny.
I thought he said Ronnie.
Oh, he could have been.
All right. Blake, we'll take Billy down until we get the camera issue sorted out.
We should sing some Ronnie Millsap today. That would be good. We should really
will sing some Ronnie Millsap. I have a gift for Liucci.
I can't believe he's not going to be on to get if he's not on, do I not get the gift either?
No, you still get the gift. We're going to make the Billy thing happen. Hold on now. Stay tuned.
We should make him sing Smoky Mountain Rain as a punishment for this. Aggie internet. See, this is so obvious because then people can come into the chat and go, yeah, I got that Aggie internet. Yeah, College Station internet. Good grief. That's terrible.
It's not my least favorite bit that like once a week we have Billy call from a different place and it doesn't work.
It's disgusting. It is just absolutely wrong. I cannot believe this. I feel like I'm being had. I feel like I'm absolutely being had. Billy was coming on. I'm repping Mike Evans' camp on the shirt, trying to have a little reasonable conversation about Connor Wigman, we think, on the pronunciation, and now we can't even get it hooked up.
Well, it's weird. He's trying, like, bless his heart. Something happened to his picture. It's just not there.
Dude, I still have to ask the question. Do you really think this is how he called Feinbaum? That's the question coming up with. Feinbaum had him on to break it all down, and I've watched the interview, and I was like, that's so cool. Billy was on with Feinbaum, and I feel like it was higher level stuff going on.
Now, see, here's where we are. Jason Hughes, and he did it over the course of two. Catch is, I'm doing a bit.
Doing a bit. They think this is a total bit. They think it's a work.
This is what radio consultants say everyone should do to boost audience. They say that.
Mess up guests on purpose.
Every time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yell at each other, and that's it.
Yeah, well.
See, somebody on the chat, Mike Evans, G-Town, Texas. Darn right. Galveston boy.
All right, so the thing is, like, Billy's back up. He's trying. We can see him on the studio side, but his screen, should we just talk to Billy with no picture?
We could certainly do that. By the way, somebody had my idea. Yesterday I thought of this. Somebody said, this is going to be like Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon. Every day we'll say, sorry, Billy, the internet didn't work.
Yes, exactly. I tell you what, let's try to do Billy with no picture.
Billy with no picture.
Settings.
Billy, can you hear us?
Billy from College Station. Now it's going to be like the Feinbaum show.
Billy.
We heard something there for a second. Billy. Come on, Billy. You can do it, Billy.
Billy, they think it's a bit.
This is so terrible.
Hold on.
Come on.
I hear you.
All right, we got you.
The other one, Blake. Hold on. We got Billy.
We got him.
But Blake
doesn't
have.
Go with the Can we just go with the voice? Like, this could be old school.
Okay. Can y'all
hear?
There you
I heard. Oh, man. That's awesome. If we can hear the audio perfectly, we should do the whole interview like that.
If we can do the Billy, you can talk to us.
a million miles away in the Smoky Mountain rain?
Yeah. See? He heard.
Billy, I have a gift for you that I want you to see right now while we have you.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
Blake, go full screen with the picture.
All right, what are we doing?
I've been sitting on this since yesterday. That's what I'm talking about.
If nothing else, if he sees that, it'll make his day. That's a Sam Elliott we can all get behind.
Billy, you know when you're not sideways and twisted, I got you as Gar from Mask. The coolest Sam Elliott has ever been.
I see a smile on Billy's face. I see a smile on that face. Oh my God. Hey, by the way, Ketch, I'm a firm believer that when you're out in public, the pretty people rule takes over. The prettier the couple, the more I will let you make out at the end of the bar. If that Sam Elliott and that Cher want to make out at the end of the bar, yes. I'm going to order a second drink and pretend like I'm not watching them.
First time I ever saw, put that picture back up, Blake. We don't have Billy. We might as well talk about Sam Elliott from the movie Mask.
Oh, look at that.
Now, the thing is, this is only being referenced because I made a Rocky Dennis reference yesterday.
See, you didn't need to tell that part. You should have just said we were talking Sam Elliott and then move on.
But we weren't.
I know we weren't.
I can't lie about it.
I know.
But I made the Rocky Dennis comment, and then Billy immediately knew, like, Cher was hot in that movie. Like, man. There are times when I think Cher, I can go either way on Cher. But this is her kind of Olivia Newton-John Grease-esque. Kind of the same kind of tight leather pants and...
Yeah, that's a good call. Ketch, I just saw Grease for the first time, and this is her doing the Sandy. Yeah, this is her Sandy moment. Yeah, absolutely. By the way,
if you haven't seen the movie Mask,
I need to see it. I've never seen that movie.
I do not know whether or not you can. I have no idea if that's on streaming.
I would assume it's streaming somewhere. I would assume somebody chatted in, what is so hard about this? LOL. That's what she said. I have no idea what's so difficult about it. Here's what we need to do, though, Ketch. The next time Billy Liucci is going to come on, we don't tell him it's us. We have Blake impersonate the producer of the Paul Feinbaum show. That's what we have him do.
Do you do a Feinbaum?
See how he hooks up. I don't. I really don't. I guess I could, but I've never really even thought about it. We kind of, the glasses are, I think, a little similar. By the way, while we have a second, my man Rick Sacamano says these glasses are too fashionable for me. They distract him because he says they're too fashionable for me to wear. Do you agree with that or not? What do you think? I chose them because I thought they were kind of Tony Stark-ish because I'm an Iron Man guy, and the attractive woman at the eye doctor, shout out Dr. Hamilton, the attractive woman at Dr. Hamilton's office said I look good in them. I took her word for that. My wife's okay with them, but Rick says it's too much. What do you think? Too stylish? Too cool?
No. So there used to be a rap group called Third Base.
Yes.
And the song that they were famous for was Pop Goes the Weasel because the Weasel Goes Pop.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of the guy from the rap group Third Base, which is neither an insult nor a compliment.
It definitely didn't feel like a compliment.
It's like when people tell me that they think I look like Michael Chiklis from The Shield.
See, I'd take that as a compliment.
But they're not. If a woman comes up to you and says, you look like Michael Chiklis from The Shield, you don't think that means you're getting laid.
Well, it depends on the woman. And it depends on how much you actually look like Michael Chiklis, I think, at that point.
I once had a woman ask for my autograph. She thought I was Michael Chiklis.
Nice. Hey, when they say I look like John Kitna or Rick Carlisle, I take it as a compliment every time.
Hey, Billy, if you're listening, I'm told to click on your video settings. Never mind. The thing is, Billy's still trying.
I like how you were trying to IT that. Like that could have just been IT'd in 4 seconds. I appreciate that Billy might still be trying to. That's fantastic.
He is trying. Billy is back again.
By the way, for the record, you realize, Ketch, that if either you or me gets asked to go on the Texags radio show, do you understand what they're going to do to us? I mean, oh my God. They're going to have like a chicken in the chicken head instead of my head, or I don't know what they're going to do.
All right, let me ask you an Aggie question since we were going to have Billy on again.
Sure. Yeah.
And poor Billy, like Billy's still trying. Not literally at this moment because he's not in our studio with a black screen,
right?
Which is just kind of bizarre to me. Wigman, like how close do you think he is? Like what's the talk in the A&M fan base? Does he get the Quinn Ewers treatment with regard to, hold on. I do not want to count chickens before they hatch.
Oh, no.
But what I'm looking at.
You looking at something cool? What are you looking at?
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I'm just going to hold it like this.
That's what she said.
Smoky Mountain rain keeps on calling. Gone as far as Gatlinburg.
See?
No. Okay, let's go before it cuts out. We've got all this equipment in here.
Billy, I was about to ask Chad a question I was going to ask for you. I'm going to go back to Wigman, whose name I am pronouncing correctly now, I'm told.
Yes.
Which is embarrassing after only like 4 years. You mentioned him yesterday. He's in the Quinn Ewers, Cade Klubnik. He really was in that class as a prospect.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering going into year 2, are A&M fans treating him the way Texas fans treat Quinn Ewers, which is the expectations are crazy. They're out of control. There's only one thing that Quinn Ewers can be this year, right? And it's NFL good. And it really is crazy because we're skipping steps in the process.
And I think, by the way, Quinn I'd be surprised. I know it's not a gimme. He did have some. I don't give him as much leeway as the Texas fans do, because he did have a lot of skill position talent. I know how many passes like Worthy dropped. So I'm kind of torn on it, but I watched that dude throw the football even in high school, but then it translated to like, I would be surprised if Quinn Ewers, was not an exceptional quarterback at Texas. I really would. I don't know enough about Arch, and this is not Arch hate, but I feel like I feel more confident in Ewers being, this top 10 draft pick type of guy right now today. Like there were times where I was like, man, this dude is really good. So he just has to be, I think, consistently that. And no, A&M fans don't obsess over Wigman's haircuts and things like that. I think they focus on mine these days here. So maybe I need to get the Ewers fade or something just to drum up some more attention. But no, I don't. I do think A&M fans believe that Connor is the future of the offense. I think they're underselling Max Johnson in the process in terms of like not thinking there's any kind of battle going on, because you guys have done this long enough to know that like steady, consistent hand and the guy that you feel like, hey, if we put everything else around him, he can win a football game for us and he knows how to win games. That always kind of lingers there until the young guy that hasn't proven it. Connor had a couple of pretty exceptional SEC games down the stretch there, but that guy always, it feels like, hey, and I remember this with Johnny and even Jameel Showers, who was inexperienced. That guy has to win the job in front of coaches and teammates in camp. And that's what's going on right now. And we're one day into that. I do think ultimately Connor does that, but I really think, Ketch, I was saying this yesterday, I don't know if y'all heard me. He just got that it about him, knocked out, completely KO'd against Ole Miss, throws a touchdown on the next play. He, against LSU, 3rd and 6 and late in the game, and he scrambles and puts a little move on Harold Perkins and outruns him to the sticks. Throwing it up to Moose the way he did with kind of like, hey, I'm going to throw it up. My guy's going to – all those things, like whether that's you're an Aggie and you remember Johnny doing that, or if you're a Longhorn, the guy that stands out to me with kind of what I'm talking about, Vince was obviously great, but I'm talking about Colt McCoy. Those guys that just kind of have that it thing about him and you can't quite put your finger on it. That's what Wigman seems to have, and he came in here with that reputation, and I don't think anything's changed on that front since he's been here.
It was not a bit. Billy Liucci, TexAgs.com, joining us. Billy, I saw a clip of you the other day talking to Anais Smith, and one of the things I think is an interesting mirror between the Aggies and Longhorns this year is the maturity discussion, the culture discussion. I hear both coaches talking about liking the team, and it feels like they're seeing some things that they like. You were talking to Anais about that. He's obviously one of the leaders. Is there a moment you could tell me about where you started to feel it with this team? Are you already starting to feel that something, okay, a little more mature, a little more this, more that? Obviously, there's been stories in the last year or so where you're thinking, man, there just doesn't seem to be a ton of discipline maybe at the top level. Is there a moment for you where you thought, man, this feels different?
There's been a few, and I'll say this. I think Texas and A&M, it's really interesting, and they never want to admit this, either side of us, but there's a lot of similarities, and if they can both do what they're capable of this year, and look, I like to joke and give everyone a hard time, and we're all cut from the same cloth in that regard, but realistically, Texas has an easier path this year being in the Big 12, and everybody's going to realize what I've been saying for 10 years when they come in. And I say that thinking that Texas is going to come in and compete right away, much like A&M did. Competing's one thing, winning titles is a whole nother. OU's the team that I think needs to worry. And I watched that weightlifting video they did yesterday, and the fans, I thought that was one of the saddest looking bunches I've seen. Like, they look small. I've talked to scouts that have come on and said, like, I've talked to scouts that have said in 20-something years, and this was before last season, that was the smallest Oklahoma team they remember seeing, and that there's the least amount of pro prospects. So I think Texas, because of guys like Sark and Flood in particular, and Bo Davis and Banks and and Terry Joseph, who both Banks and Joseph at A&M, they know exactly what they're walking into, eyes wide open. And what I'm talking about is recruiting and what it takes to win. And if these two teams culturally can win this year, and they both have to, we know that. It's not just A&M that has to win. Let Texas go 8-4 and see how everyone feels going into the SEC. They both have to win this year. And if they do, my God, like Ketch, I've seen your stuff about the rosters. You'd say the same thing about A&M. Like both of their rosters are going to be absolutely loaded next year if they win this year and can, because nowadays if you don't win enough, guys leave. So the culture thing, Chad, to me, I noticed it against LSU. Guys just said enough's enough, and most of those guys are still on this team. So that was the day I just kind of went, what's going on here? I've noticed it with Jimbo. He is as light and as loose, not at SEC media. I would say if you get bored, go watch him at our TexAgs kickoff event this weekend. I've never seen him having so much fun and talking so glowingly about his team and players. And even Bobby Petrino, which I wish he would have done in Nashville, would have saved me a lot of the same question during every interview. But I would say that, and a lot of the guys that left needed to leave, and so much was made about that. And there are very few on that 25, 27 players that made me go, damn, I wish they would have stayed. And just to be really clear with y'all, more than a couple of those guys tried to come back. And culturally, I think not only the coaches, but even the players said, no, we're good. And that's when I started to go, okay, starting to notice some different things. I've been hearing about players doing, policing themselves, weight room, the older guys saying, hey, we're all going to dress the same. We look the same in here, same shoes, just those things that you don't think matter until they don't matter. And you start realizing that, there's not enough discipline and not a championship culture.
Billy, I wanted to stick on the recruiting theme for a second, to kind of take us into a slightly different, I think you touched on it actually a little bit with regards to the need for both Texas and Texas A&M to win this year for a variety of reasons. The 2024 in-state recruiting class is kind of turned into a weird one because you got A&M and Texas both recruiting exceptionally out of state. I mean, neither program has ever been as good recruiting outside, like posts all over the country. Doesn't matter. And inside Texas, I don't think either program's really, it's not like they're not doing a good job, but the talent this year just seems to be kind of going all over the place. We've seen Clemson get guys and Georgia and Alabama, and everybody's kind of tapping into it. What's your read on 2024 where when this class Texas has got to get Kobe Black and Colin Simmons just to be able to say at the end of the year they had two of the top 20 kids from inside the state of Texas. I think A&M's going to get Bussy. They're going to get a couple of guys. So it may not be quite that bad when we extend it out to 20, but nobody's dominating in-state recruiting this year.
I think part of that is because these teams have joined the SEC. And everybody kind of, you can get an argument both ways that really these teams are going to play one game in Texas every couple of years, how does it really help? But it does. And it did open it up when A&M joined. It's going to really open it up. But I think the Aggies and Longhorns benefit way more because I've watched what A&M's done out of state. And you saw it, everybody made such a big deal of 22. They've gone and gotten some really good players from around the country beyond just the 22 class. If you look at Jimbo and that roster, and Texas is doing the same thing. I think you have to. The days of Vince Young and the Longhorns or the 90s Aggies where 99% of the team is from Texas, and you say this is the best high school football in the country, and I think it still is. But you're recruiting against teams that are saying, okay, we're going to recruit the whole country, including Texas and Louisiana and Florida and Georgia and Atlanta and, Tennessee and Memphis. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to go to Jersey when we have to in California. you're at a complete competitive disadvantage if you're not doing the same thing. And Jimbo knows that, and Sark knows that. It's just, it is what it is. So I think it's very important to do two things. Never forget that Texas is still your base and foundation. So I never want to see a class that's more than half out of state. I'd like to see 2/3 Texas for the Aggies and Longhorns if I'm a fan of either. But if a third of your class is coming out of state, I don't think there's any. I think it's a good thing, particularly if you're getting real players. And then, to me, the other part of it is you can't forget if you're at A&M or Texas about every small town in this state that produces real players. And you can't look up every year and go, man, why's that guy at TCU killing us? Or why is that guy at Baylor or Oklahoma State or Tech doing this? That's where I think both programs have failed at times since we've been doing this, Ketchum. And I think both staffs are actually doing a pretty good job of that. You guys are going to get Colin Simmons. LSU, I don't think when you're in the SEC, and I've started to realize this at A&M, and they lost Harold Perkins to LSU, and I get that. But LSU for Texas kids that A&M's recruiting, they don't really scare me that much, and neither does OU. And that doesn't mean they're not going to win some, because they are. But I'm just telling you, I'd be very surprised, and I know what's being said about Colin. I'd be very surprised if he's not a Longhorn. The one that's an interesting battle to me after this past weekend, I've kind of always assumed Kobe Black was going to be a Longhorn. And I think A&M will end up being right there. And I think they actually made a very, very strong move this weekend to where that one should be really competitive. I'm not ready to lock him in and pick him as an Aggie, but I'm just saying a week ago I wouldn't be saying this, but I think that one's actually going to be I'm trying to think, is there another massive head-to-head in the state brewing this year? Because Simmons left A&M out of his final three.
I mean, if Texas can get in with Bussy.
Yeah, those two. And you know what? Honestly, they probably split them both. That probably would be the most likely.
So, hey, Chad, real quick, just wanted to follow that up. Just so you know, Texas behind the scenes feels the same way about Black.
Yeah.
They know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard people essentially mirror the comments that you made, both about Simmons and Black. So I think, if you're listening right now with regards to those two situations, I think I will be reporting the same thing later tonight in our war room, that what you just said is pretty much spot on.
Yeah, and remind us, guys, before my question here.
I like the cross-checking. It makes me feel better about what I just
There you go. Kobe Black, a corner from
Waco Conley. Same school as Jelani McDonald.
Gotcha. Okay. Cornerback. Yeah. Billy, just kind of along those lines, we just mentioned Colin Simmons. In the next week, let's say you're right. That's a week from today, if I've got my calendar right. If you're right and he picks Texas, give me a guy that was at the Aggie pool party, that if you could dial it up for Aggie fans and say, I get you one of those guys, who do they want? Who was at that Aggie pool party? If Simmons picks Texas, who could pick A&M that day and make Aggie fans go, okay, all right? Is there one guy?
Well, I would say Black or Bussy, but because of the timing of it, and I don't think Kobe's in a big rush. I mean, I don't think he's going to wait forever. I think, what is it right now? I think it's October, but I could see it being even before that. I know he's got an LSU visit maybe in October. But I would say Bussy. I would say Bussy as that. Some have him as a 5-star, some as a high 4. I would say he would be that guy because A&M's recruited him for a long time, and they've, some of those guys they got in from the Golden Triangle area, and then Ty Anthony Smith out of Jasper, Draylon Miller. Those guys, those were kind of dominoes that were kind of starting to fall together, and it looked like Bussy could be. I think the ones I'm watching the most closely for A&M right now are Blake Ivy, which is, if you made me pick that today, I might actually pick LSU. That's an A&M LSU one.
Really?
I think so. I think that it's close. I mean, that one will be really close. I think Bussy's the other one I'm watching closely. And And I think Xavier Atkins, the LSU linebacker commit, I kind of am expecting a flip there. And then there's Papa Afua, offensive lineman from up there in Washington State, who A&M really is in love with and have been recruiting for a long time.
Real quick for both of you guys, somebody on the chat was mentioning Micah Hudson, a couple of different ones. What do you guys think? Micah Hudson, the receiver from Lake Belton, if I'm not mistaken.
I keep hearing the Aggies are going to get involved in that, Chad.
You know what? They are.
Billy, he was at the pool party, wasn't he?
No, he was not. He was not. Okay. I think he went to Lubbock, so that was a big swing.
Oh, okay.
But his last visit here was exceptional. I believe he came in with his girlfriend. I think A&M made a strong move, but Tech, they're doing a hell of a job in that recruitment. Joey McGuire, y'all know that, and all the Longhorns know that. I forgot another one that will quietly maybe develop into I don't know if it will be just A&M Texas. Nobody's talking about Wingo with the Aggies being involved. They might have a better shot with Wingo than Hudson. And it could be A&M Texas there. And remember, his brother played for Petrino at Arkansas. So, that's an interesting one to watch for that 5-star receiver. So maybe that and Kobe Black and Bussy are kind of the three most, going to be the three most competitive head-to-heads, down the stretch between the two programs.
Billy, I think it's going to be Missouri and then either, right? He'll have a Final Four or Final Five. It's going to come down to two, and Missouri's going to get that home state slot, which sometimes is great and sometimes
Don't sleep on drink for whatever reason.
I think it's Texas and Texas A&M ultimately fighting for that spot with Wingo to go head-to-head with Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think when it's all said and done, I think one of those two teams will beat Missouri. I think Missouri's confident now after this past weekend. I've heard that their confidence has gone up. Something just tells me that Texas or Texas A&M with Wingo, weirdly, the real battle may be between those two schools. And then it's like for the right. It's like when we watch a UFC fight and there's a real championship fight, and then the guy that has the belt's not as good as the two guys that were, or as emphatic as those two guys. So I think there's a sneaky Wingo battle that will take place that you're right. Not a lot of people are really talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, Billy.
Yo.
I asked Chad a question yesterday. If A&M had 6 guys on the defense right now that could have played on the best wrecking crew defenses. So I don't mean that there's somebody has to be better than Corey on it, but could they play? I want to ask you that question, and then I just want to ask, who's the most wrecking crew badass guy on that defense right now?
Oh, wow. That's a great question, and it's going to take me a second because you're talking about in my wheelhouse right before me and then while we were all in college, right? So the problem with that question, it's a good one, is a lot of these guys have played 1 year of college football. And so their pedigree says yes. Shamar Stewart, LT Overton, Gabe Brownlow-Dindy, Walter Nolan, all those guys are they're rated like Sam Adams and Kevin Smith and those guys were. But it's still so early for them, it's hard to say. I would start, guys, with McKinley Jackson, actually. And I talked to Jim Nagy up in Nashville, and he came up to me. We've gotten to know each other over the years. He's like, man, I saw you, quote tweeted my McKinley thing. He's like, people are, and he's going just raving about McKinley Jackson as an NFL draft prospect. So the senior defensive tackle would be the first one, I would say. And then you start, I think Tyreek Chappelle's really underrated, but I don't know. You're talking about Aaron Glenn, Ray Mickens, Kevin Smith. I would probably go to safety, and the guy you guys are real familiar with, but I think is going to be a stud starting this year. I love Bryce Anderson as a safety nickel guy that's going to be on the field pretty much every snap. I think he's outstanding. All those other guys, though, are kind of along the D line, and they're entering year 2. I mean, the ones I mentioned, Stewart, Shamar Turner. Shamar Turner in a 3-4 back then he's gonna beat somebody out and be on the field as an upperclassman. Like Shamar, again, another Aggie Longhorn battle. I think that was right ultimately. I'll say this: they all reside along the D line, and they're all really young. It's the most talented D line I've seen at A&M since. You got to go back when you're talking about depth and stuff. I didn't even mention like Malik Silla or Eni White. DJ Hicks might be as talented as any of them, but you got to go back to me to like Ketch, Chad. You remember this? Guys like when they had Brandon Mitchell, Pat Williams, Eddie Jasper, and the thing this defense is lacking though that's going to be it's TBD are those twitchy edge pass rushers. Silla's got to develop. Eni White's got to develop. LT Overton went from 280 to just under 260. He looks completely different. Maybe he can be a little more of a outside edge guy, but they've got the power and they've got the rush by committee. Do they have a guy that strikes fear in you? Even a couple of years ago, Tyree Johnson, nobody talked about, but that dude, he'll go against Alabama and get 2 sacks. And maybe I'm sleeping on Fadil Diggs, who had 3 sacks against Bama last year, and the next week sack forced fumble against Rattler and then got hurt and was done for the year. But they got to find some edge pressure somewhere because as great as these guys that are 6'3", 6'4", 285 to 300 are, you've got to have those guys that just strike fear in you coming off the edge, and where those tackles, no matter how good, are going to have a really hard time blocking a guy for 4 quarters.
Chad, you got one last question? You good?
I'm so excited the technology worked. Real quick, Billy, give me a great guy on this team. Just a guy that's cool. He's cool. He's funny. He's wonderfully weird. I always love those guys on a team. And I know you developed some relationships with him and stuff. Give me a guy that's just fun to hang out with on this team.
Anias is like that. Like I love when he comes in. It's just he's pretty funny. Moose is really interesting. Moose is the first guy ever that has come up to me after an interview, and we were just talking off to the side. And he's showing me pictures of when he went fishing with his dad in Thailand, and he's got some great stories about growing up. The son of a Carolina Panthers legend. But Moose asked me after, he said, "So how do you think these interviews are going?" I said, "Good. What do you think?" And he said, "Well, he's like, is there any advice you could give me on how I can make them better? Like, what can I do to make you and me both do?" But he's just real introspective. I find Moose interesting. He tells me he listens to Joe Rogan all the time, and he'll talk to me about those podcasts. He's just
interesting.
Moose is interesting, and Anias is just a different cat in a really unique way. And then the 2 guys that are just so smart, and they come in here and Gabe Brownlow-Dindy, the 5-star from Florida, who basically redshirted last year. He'd hurt his knee in an all-star game. One of the best kids to come through here. Just a great character, kid and family. And then LT Overton's pretty fascinating too, because remember, he would have been a true freshman this year. He and DJ Hicks would have been among the 2 best D linemen in the country. He graduated a full year early, comes in here, I think made a 4.0, as a freshman, at least one, if not both semesters. He's an exceptional student, and he comes in here and just, he was playing. And it's what people forget. He was playing last year as a 17-year-old in the SEC on the defensive line. I think when they played Arkansas, they had 2 17-year-olds and an 18-year-old starting on the D line against all junior and senior O-line. So that's the big, real wild card this year is how much does the O-line improve? Because Lord knows they have to. And they also have the players to do it. I don't think there's any excuses that would fly this year. And then on that D-line, what kind of jump, not just the D-line, but the defense, I mentioned Bryce and Jacoby Matt, how big of a jump can those guys make from year 1 to year 2? What do you expect Kelvin Banks to be this year? What do you expect who was a true freshman for Texas that really impressed last year? What do you expect from them next year? Yeah. Was it Terrence Brooks? Was he a true freshman last year, right?
Yeah.
Those guys, the jump, y'all kind of think
the 2 teams are eerily similar, Billy.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's
and there's a whole lot of we're just waiting on 5 stars to like spread their wings and fly. And when they do that,
Ketch, I've been telling you for years we're a lot more similar than we are different. I've been telling you for years.
Well, hey, in that vein, Kyle cracks me up here.
That is an Aggie voice. That is an Aggie voice of someone that comes up to you at an event. That's not everyday Aggie. That's event Aggie. That's
event Aggie.
And that's event Longhorn too. I was at a wedding a few weeks ago with a bunch of Longhorns there, and it was great. We talked like this, like young. There were some young Longhorns. There was some a couple older guys, and it was like this. It was fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I just want to give a hand to Billy and the technical crew on both sides.
It was me. I called in the technical crew. They couldn't do a damn thing. And I finally said, I'm just going to hold the phone and dial it back in. And it worked.
Here's my thing, Billy. We've known each other long enough. You can be honest with us. If you had thought we were Paul Feinbaum, you would not have been messing around with some phone. I saw Paul interview you and you were badass. Like, what's the difference, man?
I'm going to tell you what it is. This is all I had for Feinbaum. Look, I've got people back here trying to work. This was all I had. Just this thing.
He's got the O-ring.
It's the best thing for Feinbaum up until this last time. They finally did Zoom or whatever. They were doing FaceTime.
Oh, really?
I always felt like I was looking this way on the camera. It's not my good side. It was weird. Yeah. And so they just now started doing Zoom, which made it so much easier. But yeah, this is exactly what I did. I think it's y'all's, whatever this, I'm looking at it now, Restream Studio is a little suspect.
I see.
Yeah, no, it's definitely us, Billy.
He's taking a shot.
Real quick, Kyle put up in the chat, this is not nice, but he wrote, who is the best player to go to water parks with? And it's like, guys.
That's not me.
That's not Billy.
What?
The last time I think I went to water park, if anybody that's listening that grew up in like Sugarland, A-Leaf, Missouri City, like back in the night, Fame City was probably the last water park I went to.
Wow.
Somebody listening will remember Fame City.
Dude, that's a hardcore water park.
That's just an example that you get blamed for everything like I get blamed for everything. Like the years go by and it's like, remember when Billy took those kids to the water park? And it's like, no.
Or the bathroom. That's a fun one. I'll tell you what, the fan base that gets it wrong on anything about me more than any is the one north of the Red River. For some reason, it's like OU doesn't they're not as familiar, I guess, and they have this their narrative about me is wild. It's just wild how wrong it is. So I just sit back and I'm like, oh man, you guys it's crazy.
Well, just to let you know, Billy, I've already told 10 people that you were the one with the idea for our show. So I'm sorry in advance. You're gonna get blamed for that too.
Oh, and watch watch our my little Netflix Tuesday. I guess I'm in it more than I thought. Bad hair and all.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because Ketch, that the Johnny Manziel doc is hitting on the 8th. And somebody asked me the other day, how much Billy Liucci are we going to get? And I'm like, I bet we get a heavy dose of Billy Liucci.
Oh, let's just say we did it in here and they didn't leave it for chance. Like y'all left, y'all assumed I was going to figure the technology. They came rolling in here. They see me on Friday night. I guess I gave Johnny's induction speech into the A&M Hall of Fame. I not a speech. They recorded me talking about. They were bringing people through, and each person had like a presenter on video. So then the next day at the game, they said, "Hey, we're with Netflix. Can we fly you out to LA sometime?" I said, "Sure. Whenever." And then they called me Sunday and said, "Hey, while we're here, do you want to can we just come to your office and do it Monday morning?" I was like, okay. I call somebody, I pay this lady like a Bill Clinton amount of money to get a haircut. And it turns out awful because it's long. And I'm like, who can cut a guy's hair long? And it looked, so I come in here last minute, bad hair. I'm like, have a hat on. They go, well, hat costs too many shadows. I'm like, okay. And then we do the interview, and they said it went great. And they had a whole team in here, like 8, 9 people. Took them an hour to set up. And we went to lunch afterwards, and they just said, I think you're going to be in it a lot. Just because of what they were saying is 99% of the people that listen don't really know anything about A&M at that time, and like what made that whole thing so kind of magical, but also hard to rein in. Like, what was the climate like? What was the transition going on to the SEC? So all that stuff. And I guess that's kind of my part in it, is just kind of tying that together, kind of painting the picture a little bit, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, we have perfect timing, Ketch, because after next week, once that thing hits, Billy's going to say no to us and everybody else that wants to do an interview. I just want to let you know.
Well, we can't just do one over here. Come on.
Hey, I have 2 more things. I need 30 seconds on Evan Stewart, the guy that Texas fans for 18 months have been convinced was going to end up in the portal and end up at Texas, and now just might end up a total badass at Texas A&M when it's all said and done. So just give me 30 seconds on Evan, because he's so talented.
He's so talented, and he's one of those guys, Chad, that would fit in that too. And I didn't get to interview. He finally came in for the first time the other day, and I had to leave right before he got here. Everybody said he was great, and he's really unique personality, and players love him. He's special. Those wide receivers, you go look at some of those catches he made as an 18-year-old freshman against Bama, against Ole Miss here, and he missed 2 games and had, what do you have, 600-something yards or right around there, and that was with two games missed. Plus, unfortunately, they didn't make a bowl game. He played in 13 games. Those numbers look a hell of a lot different. But he's a playmaker, and he's a hard worker too. They say as soon as he got here, he latched onto Anias. And another position that you look at both teams, and I know what they've got down in Austin, and they're the envy of most programs. And you look at College Station, and you go Anias, Moose Muhammad, Evan Stewart, and the name no one outside of this little space is talking about that has a chance to be really, really damn good, and Evan and everybody else will tell you about it, is Noah Thomas, second-year guy. Yeah, he's every bit of 6'5", and runs like he's 5'11", like coming out of the breaks. He's quick, he accelerates, he's explosive, he plays vertical as you would expect, but I mean, he's a 6'5" plus guy that does that. And they say, like, in practice, when you count the number of steps, all those crazy monitors they wear now and stuff, they said he just outworks everyone. It's not even close. Like, the dude just doesn't get tired, can't be stopped. And
he's in that 22 class, right, Billy?
Yeah, and he was a 3-star that committed really early. Nephew of Broderick Thomas, the old Nebraska legend, and had like 21 or 24 touchdown receptions his senior year down there in South Houston. It was Clear Creek, or was it Clear Spring? But anyway, had an exceptional senior year, but he just committed so early. I think it was A&M's first commit. It was a 3-star and never was recruited. And the dude, he scored against Ole Miss and I think UMass last year. But it's this whole offseason, I don't think there are 2 players that people haven't seen as much that have been talked about more than Noah Thomas and Bryce Anderson. So A&M receiving core looks really strong as well. So that's a great position. I still think Evan Stewart has a chance to be a breakout performer for A&M this year, even though, again, he really had a strong freshman season by all accounts.
His name is Billy Liucci. He's such a big deal that, like, Netflix knew he was the only guy to go to for, like, there was one guy that, like, we're just going to shoot an hour of B-roll and, like, oh, by the way, just keep talking. We love everything. I can't wait to watch the Netflix special. I mean, before that even came up, I was going to ask, like, hey, how's Johnny doing? Like, is Johnny just in a good place with the documentary and everything getting ready to come out?
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday, and he's in Scottsdale all the time, and that's where he's enjoying it out there. Golfs a lot. You saw where he's opening this bar here. I think some friends of his that have been in the bar business forever, talked him into, having his name on it. And
Billy, we lost you. It's probably a good time to wave farewell. Billy, we'll do it again.
Good run. That was a
Thanks,
good run.
Billy.
Hey, we got a long way into that one. Come on now.
No, we did. Ultimately, Billy's almost given us an hour if you include the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The thing is, Billy, we can't hear you.
All right.
It's okay. Hey, look, we're going to go to break. Adam Gorney on the other side. We'll get back into the Colin Simmons discussion. Billy, I will send you a note. You were fantastic. By the way, we did lose a subscriber. I think Derek in the chat literally unsubscribed from the channel because of Billy. It's okay. There's someone else subscribed at the same time, so they washed each other out, I think.
Billy, the John David Crow picture, the Mike Evans shirt. There's a lot going on. I could understand. I understand, Longhorn fans. Well,
Fair enough.
Sorry.
When we get back, it'll be Longhorn recruiting. Colin Simmons. Just how much is there to worry about? Adam Gorney from Rivals.com will join us next. This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best recruiting success stories in the history of the Texas program. Ultimately, a prospect that turned into an All-American and a 5-time NFL All-Pro. Earl Thomas was a mid-4-star prospect by Rivals when he signed with the Longhorns in 2007, finishing as the nation's number 106th overall prospect, the 19th best prospect in Texas, and the number 12 athlete in the country, according to Rivals.com. While Thomas was obviously very well thought of, he actually ranked behind 3 other defensive backs in his own recruiting class with the Longhorns: Curtis Brown, Ben Wells, and Christian Scott, all ranked ahead of Thomas in the Rivals rankings. On the day that Thomas committed to the Longhorns, he was joined by 5 others: Keenan Robinson, Kyle Hicks, Michael Huey, Ben Wells, and Andre McGaskey. Of that group, Robinson played in the NFL, while he, Hicks, and Huey were all multi-year starters on teams that challenged for national championships. Meanwhile, Thomas was Thomas. That was some kind of weekend for Mac Brown in recruiting. When Thomas committed, he told Jason Sucamel of Orangebloods, quote, "I called Mac Brown today. I let them talk to my dad for a while. My dad wanted to talk to them before I committed. Then I went ahead and made my commitment." My favorite memory of Thomas's recruitment occurred in College Station for the 2006 state 7-on-7 tournament before Thomas's senior season. After watching him play in a group game on the first day of the event, an NFL coach that I knew walked up to me and told me that Thomas was the best player in the entire class. We didn't listen to him when we did the rankings, but we should have. Thomas was a member of the 2007 recruiting class that finished 5th in the nation in the Rivals.com rankings. Chad, what do you? Oh, look at you!
Hey, I'm just trying to be fair.
Look at you! You're making sure there's full representation.
Just trying to be fair. Just trying to be fair.
The thing from that comment, by the way, we're back. It is house divided here. I'm resetting, right? We don't even have to do that. It's a very radio thing that you and I both do.
Dude.
I don't know that it'll ever change.
I swear we just went longer with Billy Liucci than if you put every interview combined we ever did with Billy Liucci. That was crazy.
Well, and I was going to say, that is one of the cool things about this format, Chad, is that like we went what would have been 2 full segments, lost a radio break or 2 somewhere along the line, and it didn't matter. That's what I love about this format.
Yeah, and there was some really good stuff in there too. Thanks to Billy, obviously, for the time. But what I dig about it from my perspective is I love listening to you guys go into the recruiting stuff, because I know there's recruiting heads out there that really like to hear that, and they don't get to hear that a lot, right? Somebody that's really covering Texas closely, somebody that's really covering A&M closely, and y'all might talk behind the scenes, but to get on a show like this and really go through some things and, I think they may get this guy, and I think it's this. I'm always interested to hear those, because I can feel y'all's intel, going back and forth and everything. I thought that was great.
Well, and look, we're going to talk to Adam Gorney from Rivals.com probably the next 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. So we'll continue the recruiting conversation. It was interesting that our recruiting information really jive. There's a lot of always talk whenever it's Billy and us. There's always this sense that they see the way of the world through one prism that's radically different than the prism through which we see the world. Sometimes our rankings are wildly different. And a lot of that makes sense, right? I mean, there are guys that when they commit to Texas, I haven't watched a lot of. I'll give you a perfect example. Santana Wilson, the commitment for Texas from Arizona, is a guy that I hadn't watched a ton of for a lot of reasons, mostly because he's from Arizona and not that big of a deal for me, generally speaking. But once he committed, like I started watching even more video of him. I was like, holy shit, this guy's good, man. Like really good. Like I think he'd be a top 10 player in the state of Texas. And I don't think, or prospect in the state of Texas. And he doesn't even get described like that. He's barely a top 10 prospect in the state of Arizona. And so you start watching those guys, the more you see of them, a little bit of confirmation bias kicks in. It's in that the guys that you see the most oftentimes get thought of the most. And sometimes that happens. But this time, what did I say? Yeah, Christian Clark's another one, Paxton. By the way, Paxton, you have been really good in the chat today. There's no prizes. We got no T-shirts.
Well, Paxton.
There's no hats. But I will give you an attaboy, Paxton. You've been an all-star for us.
And send him the helmet. You want the helmet?
No, don't do that. You're going to need that.
Okay. All right.
You're going to need – I mean –
all right, fair enough.
I got helmets if we need to give away helmets.
You got probably better helmets. You got better helmets than I do.
You know what? Like I've been saving them for charity. How about at some point we steal from the charity and we just give something away?
Wow. It's a hell of a sentence to start with. Let's steal from the charity.
Let's steal. It's an unnamed charity.
Wow.
That has not yet been determined. So it's not like we would be stealing food out of the mouths of like the girls club or the boys club.
If you're keeping score at home, show 1 Rocky Dennis comment, show 2 steal from a charity. That's how Ketch is starting this project. Well done. Well done.
You knew what you were getting into.
Oh, hey.
And it's not like I'm Brian Jones. Like whatever lines have been crossed, I haven't.
I knew it was a snake. I knew it was a snake when I picked it up. Okay.
You knew what was under that rock before you picked it up. Don't be mad.
I did.
Don't be suggesting. Don't clutch your pearls now, Chad.
No.
Because the thing is, I say the things out loud that are demented in my head. You keep them internally, and so it makes people think Chad's not demented. Chad's just a regular good old guy who thinks nothing but common decency. Right. The reality is when that Rocky Dennis comment came out of my mouth, you were like, God damn, that's funny.
Ah, my goodness.
Completely uncalled for, but funny nonetheless.
Uncalled for. All right, so we're Adam Gorney's coming up at about a couple minutes. Is that true?
I mean, we're waiting for him at this point.
Okay, send the autograph watermelon. Well done, Cotton. Well done. Autograph watermelon's a good call. Hey, Ketch, do you want to see the crap bag item of the day? I have a crap bag item of the day for you. Here it is. The crap bag item of the day. Don't get distracted because it's maroon, but it is
sweet.
The Mike's Pub t-shirt. They opened in 1959, and as you see, they were the Austin Burger Bracket champs in 2010. Now, is it true that they're no longer open and people blame us? Yes. That's true. But
do we get blame?
Of course we do. But are we the reason they closed? Absolutely not. It's a lot about downtown politics and where the restaurant was. But shout out to all the guys involved with Mike's Pub, Chris and the gang, if you're still out there. Ketch, that is still one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life. And I was happy that little place that had just been chugging along all those years got some love back in 2010.
It's been 13 years since we've done the burger bracket, and that still gets brought up all the time. All the time.
It was excellent.
The thing is, people get the order of the teams. Like, so in the end, Mike's Pub beat Dan's?
Mike's Pub, yes. Mike's Pub and Dan's was the final. Mighty Fine and did Hilbert's make the Final Four? Hilbert's made a run. Hilbert's made a run.
Do you realize I've never been into a Mighty Fine since 2010?
Is that right?
When I hold a grudge, I hold a grudge. My kids and my mom like to go to Mighty Fine.
Yeah.
A little bit of ice cream, get some hot dogs. Like they do the grandkid thing, right? They'll go to, and I'm like, no, I'm still not quite over the burger bracket controversy from 2010. I should let that go and just go get a burger.
You probably should. You probably should. I still think
it's a damn good burger.
It's a damn good burger. It is. The Mighty Fine burger is really, really good. There's some other good ones. The other thing we got to get you to do, Catch, my goal. I hope that they can be part of the show at some point. But even if not, one of my favorite places on earth has become Hayes City Store in Driftwood, and you have never been there. And we got to get you out to Hayes City for a burger because their burgers are out of this world. So we have to do that.
I thought I sent him the link to Restream.
Uh-oh.
Apparently I haven't.
Okay.
I just resent it.
Do you need to take a break? Do you need
to?
Because I could just spit out some A&M, propaganda and lose us a few subscribers. And if you need to set that up, no.
I'm kind of amazed at the subscriber spike in the last. I don't know what I expected.
Yes. Are you happy?
I mean, yeah. Like if we grow 1,000 subscribers this week, that would be amazing.
Hey, while we're waiting here, you want to hear a little house divided birthday shout out? I got birthdays on both sides.
Absolutely. And like I said, I just sent Adam Gorney the link. He should be in shortly.
So let's do a shout out here, and this will make you feel old in one way, Catch. Did you realize that James Street and Houston Street have the same birthday?
I did know that, yes, but I don't know the actual birth date.
Yesterday was the day, and James Street would have been 75. Rest in peace to the great James Street. One of the coolest interviews I ever got to do was interviewing James Street. I interviewed him a couple times over the years, and just such an incredible guy. But how about this, Catch? You want to feel old? Houston Street turned 40 yesterday.
No, he didn't. I swear I thought you were about to say 30.
Nope. 4-0. Makes me want to cry.
By the way,
want to cry.
Sturricane, you are right. I do need to try out the Trill Burgers in Houston. Chad, do yourself a favor. Once we're done talking to Adam Gorney, who we've got here ready to go.
Nice.
Before the show is over, just do like a Twitter search for Trill Burgers.
Uh-huh.
It's Bun B's burger joint in Houston.
Oh, I've heard about it. My man Isaiah told me about that. Shout out to Zay, who taught me about the music and the food. Yeah, I've heard they're good.
The pictures will make you realize that we might need to get them into the next burger bracket.
Okay, sounds good.
So you know.
I like it.
Joining us right now because we haven't talked enough Colin Simmons and what might happen in that recruiting battle. And because we had Billy Liucci on in the last segment, and we're talking some Kobe Black as well, the runway, Chad, is completely clear. It's time to dive into some recruiting from Rivals.com's Adam Gorney. And there are no softballs. We're just, Adam, what's Colin Simmons going to do?
I don't know. I'm looking at Trill Burgers on Twitter right now, and I want to go to Houston.
Yes, no, exactly. Adam, when you come into Houston next, I will take you to get a Trill Burger.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, Colin Simmons. If I had to pick right now, it looks like LSU. It looks like it's trending that way, but we'll see. I mean, I just talked to him this morning, actually, because we're trying to set up a live stream for his commitment. He's saying some companies are paying him money to do it, and we're not going to go down that path. So I don't know who is offering money for Colin Simmons live stream, but I would say if I had to pick right now, it would be LSU, and this is why. He just came off the visit to LSU, and he announced his commitment date the same day that his teammate Caden Durham is committing, and it looks like LSU for him. I've been to a million signing day ceremonies and other things where two kids from the same school commit and they go to different schools. And I don't think Texas is by any stretch out of it. But it looks like LSU is trending here into the final days.
So Adam, this one's interesting. I'm LSU people are incredibly confident. So it's interesting. It's a little bit like the Corey and Gibson recruitment for at least for a little bit, in that there was a time when it felt like both Clemson and Texas were equally confident that they were going to get Corian Gibson. And then as that announcement got close, it became clear, oh, Gibson's going to go to Clemson, not Texas. Right now, seems like, and we're going to have this in our war room tonight. So if you're not on Orangebloods, get your ass on over to Orangebloods. As a matter of fact, you can even hold out for a few hours because we're going to have a special free trial on Orangebloods later today. I'd hate for you to sign up and then not get the free trial. So I'll get that in front of you.
Well, that's
Texas is really confident.
Honesty.
LSU is really confident. And it's strange that that's where we are, Adam, that one weekend can do this when Simmons visits Texas in late June. And the sense was privately may have given a silent commitment, whatever the hell those things are worth, never really much of anything. But, we'll say it for the sake of indicating how strong they thought the lean to Texas was. It was a little bit like Micah Hudson's situation, the wide receiver out of Texas, out of the Lake Belton area, in that it's like, okay, well, when's the commitment announcement going to be? And at first week of July, then I was told, don't be surprised if it's the second week of July. And then I was told, okay, well, it's going to be July. And then I was told the announcement's probably going to be in August. And now here we are.
Yeah.
But the dynamics 7 days ago for Colin Simmons feel wildly different than where we are today. And it's the biggest lesson we could probably give on the impact of what a single visit at any given time can do in terms of swinging how we feel about these recruitments.
So I will say this too, though, Ketch, and these are important points for Texas, is that one, he's visited there recently and loved it. Texas has felt really good about it. It's about 2.5 hours away, and family is going to be a consideration here. LSU, I think, is about 6. I think, those things are going to play a factor. He did visit LSU, and then their defensive line coach took a personal leave of absence. That could be a factor. There are definite, I think LSU fans are confident. From the people I talked to at LSU, they're like guardedly optimistic. Before the visit to LSU, they knew that they were probably trailing, and they knew Texas, as one told me, they were going to throw the kitchen sink at him. Afterward, the same person told me it's not over till it's over. So I don't know if that necessarily means we're still trying or we think we got him, but it's not over because Texas will not give up until the final say. So I have to make a pick. That's the pick I'm going to make, but I would certainly not be surprised if it was Texas. There are definitely considerations in terms of being closer to home. There are family considerations. It's Texas. He's a Texas kid. There's plenty of reasons why this could be Texas in the end. Durham could go to LSU and he could end up at Texas, no problem here. So I would not be surprised at all if it was Texas. But it is a little curious that after that LSU visit, he was ready to make his decision. Now, that could be like, I saw LSU one last time. It's not for me. I'm going to Texas. Or it could be, it is for me. He's always had this sort of strange curiosity with LSU anyway. But Texas has done a phenomenal job trying to get him to stay home.
Adam Gorney, Rivals recruiting analyst. Adam, for a Longhorn fan that is checking this out right now, and they haven't had a chance to look at Colin Simmons' film and really dig through it, what jumps out to you? I mean, it's a softball, I'm sure, because he's a badass 5-star. But what jumps out to you on film? Why is he going to be so good at the next level?
Yeah, when we started the 2024 rankings, he was the number 1 player. I loved his sophomore film at that time. He's exactly sort of what elite college and NFL teams are looking for now. Length, edge rushing, can drop back and coverage and play in space. So he has all of those things. He's super aggressive off the edge. He's relentless. He gets after people. He's physical. He wants to be good. Kind of carries himself with that little bit of a swagger edge that, it's not cockiness, but he's certainly sure of himself when he's on the football field. He's gotten thicker over the last year and a half, which I've liked, but he's kept that speed. So when he's coming off the edge, he does very well. What kind of concerned me a little bit was last year when they played Mater Dei and DeAndre Carter and Brandon Baker, two of the best offensive linemen in the 24 class, kind of handled them a little bit, handled that defense, blew Duncanville out. So I don't think that one game makes a player. But like you said, Chad, he is a badass. He's a guy that can play in space, and he's a guy that can really come off the edge with a lot of speed and burst and get after people.
Adam, I have like a Rolodex, and people don't even know what Rolodexes are anymore. I don't even know why I just said that. No. I have a long list of questions that I want to ask you. Kobe Black, let's talk about him for a second. We had Billy Liucci on from TexAgs.com on literally 20 minutes before you came on, and he and I are both hearing kind of the same thing, that A&M knocked a big dent into the Texas lead in that recruitment, and that we may have an honest-to-goodness Texas A&M hand-to-hand combat fight taking place in a year where there hasn't been a lot of Texas and Texas A&M hand-to-hand combats for guys in the state of Texas. There have been some, but that may be the only real true one we have coming down the stretch. Maybe Terry Bussey. I'm just curious on Kobe Black, borderline 5-star guy. I've had him written in ink to Texas for a while, but I have been hearing really for the last month to keep an eye on A&M, and here we are.
Yeah, I think the saying that, a little bit of a dent in the armor there is true. Texas A&M definitely has left an impression, but it might be an impenetrable fence. Yeah. I think Texas is probably ahead by far. Sure, Texas A&M made it curious. There's a lot to like about A&M and where they are, and especially defensively. We'll see about offensively this year how it goes with Bobby Petrino calling plays and Jimbo Fisher juggling 800 pages in a notebook and his glasses and yelling at the quarterback and everything else that goes on down there. I definitely think they've made an impression and made him think about it twice. But once things settle after the visit, I think Kobe Black, like you said, Ketch, is probably locked into Texas. If he doesn't end up there, it would be a huge surprise to me now. They have 2 defensive back commitments right now. Rebel plays safety. Santana Wilson can kind of play all over, but he's a 6'1" kid, probably ends up at safety. They're looking for a lockdown cornerback in this class, a guy who's right on that fringe of 5-star status. Probably will be determined at the All-Star games whether he is one or not. I think Texas still has a pretty wide margin there.
Chad, can I follow up with taking him in a completely different direction?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, I need to have a Caden Durham conversation with you, Adam, and I need to do it while admitting you're in my head a little bit, because I love Caden Durham, right? And I love 10-2. Once upon a time, I rated Marquise Goodwin higher than anybody else in the industry. And then afterwards, it was like I didn't rate him high enough, like not nearly high enough. And it's like, well, had we looked back at his high school track numbers, we would have seen that guy might be in the Olympics someday. Maybe he has 5-star something, right?
Yeah.
So I love Caden Durham, and yet you are in my head because I can't stop thinking about, should a running back be given a 5-star label in 2023, 2024, 2025, moving on. We're literally in real time watching this running back discussion in the NFL play out, right? Where it's like the running backs are going to unionize and they're going to protest together, and somehow that's going to work. I want to just talk about Durham for a second because we're splitting hairs. Rivals has him rated as a high 4-star. If I waver on 5-star, because out of principle, right? Like maybe only Bijan Robinson gets to be a 5-star. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly he's less than a 5-star. Suddenly we have him ranked exactly the same. And we're really splitting hairs about whether or not he should be 50th in the country or 65th in the country. Just real quick on Durham, because I think he's better than Taylor Tatum. But I will acknowledge he's smaller. And I will acknowledge that from a versatility standpoint, Tatum's a pretty incredible prospect. What have you guys been seeing in Durham? Is it just the size, or what have you guys seen that have kept him from being the number 1 back in Texas?
Yeah, and I think this is definitely, like you said, Ketch. So first on running back rankings, you see it with Saquon Barkley. The Giants don't want to pay him. You see it with Jonathan Taylor. Jim Irsay is moving a manatee across the country for $50 million instead of paying his star running back. I think you saw it a little bit with Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. They got sick of it. So there's this lessening of value on running backs. And so we definitely want to be considerate of the trends in the NFL because our rankings are based off expected college performance and NFL draft status. And so if running backs are far less valuable to NFL teams, then it should be reflected in our running back rankings at the high school level, even though there are phenomenal high school running backs. At the same time, what we don't want to do, and what we've sort of done this cycle, which has to change, is if we're going to make that reflection, then we shouldn't have 7 running backs in the top 60, because that's essentially saying that 7 running backs are second-round NFL draft picks, and that is far too many. So I actually think we should drop running back rankings even further into the 3rd and 4th rounds, which would make them 80 to 120 type players. But we also don't want to just be beholden to NFL trends, because those can change 4 years down the line. We've seen that with maybe tight end being a little bit more important now. These flex tight ends. What is a defensive lineman? You can have a guy stand up. You've seen Rashawn Gary in Green Bay literally stand up from being over the center. What is an edge? What's the difference between an edge rusher and an outside linebacker? All of these kinds of positionless kind of things. Like Nate Frazier is our number 1 all-purpose back in the country right now. He doesn't catch the ball in high school, but we think in college and in the NFL, that's where he can be used. Now, the discussion of Durham over Tatum, I could absolutely see a valid argument. I love Durham. He's got incredible speed. And that's something that I think we're going to see, with Cole Patterson out more and seeing these guys probably both during this season. We'll have a discussion about that. And then at the All-Star games, we'll make our final discussion whether we like Tatum or Durham more in the state. I'll tell you this, I'll take speed over big backs most times now. It's just the way the game is being played now. But I'll also take guys that know how not to get hit. There are guys that just know how not to embrace, getting punished all the time. I think Bijan was kind of like that, and so this will be a discussion that we have moving forward. We've seen a lot of these guys over the last few years, and I think especially in the 24 class, running back is one of those positions that we can make a lot of changes to moving forward.
Adam, I want to ask a question about this current Texas team and a guy that I know you know a lot about. So fans, I think a lot of times have that new guy they're really looking forward to in the freshman class. They want to see if he can make an impact. My guy's Jonte Cook for Texas. I know it's a thick receiving room, but I really enjoy watching him. I got a chance to watch him in 7-on-7 a little, but I know you've seen him more than I have. Am I just kind of fanboying here, or do you think he could make an impact even in that receiving room?
What I love about Jonte Cook is something walks in the room and then he walks in about 5 minutes later. Like, he's just got something about him where he's going to be very confident, but he's going to be smart enough, savvy enough to kind of keep his mouth shut and then get on the field and destroy people. Like, when I saw him at the Under Armour game, he was maybe the best receiver there. We moved him up to 5 stars. Very, very talented guy, and a guy that fits Sark's offense, I think, perfectly. He's going to be able to go deep on pretty much anybody. And once that defense starts retreating to make sure Cook isn't behind him, they go underneath and it's 15 yards down the field. So he's a very confident kid. I love that about him, but he's not like the a-hole type, So like, you're going to get a kid who's going to want to really prove he's very good. Little bit Napoleon complex, maybe. He's a little shorter, a little smaller than a lot of the other guys, but he's going to catch everything and he's just going to make play after play after play. There have been receivers, I think, that we've seen at Texas recently that deep ball drop. That's not going to happen with Jonte Cook. He's going to catch everything thrown his way. Phenomenal player, and I love just his assertiveness and his confidence in what he can do.
All right, Adam, I'm going to go back to the running back conversation for a second. By the way, nothing makes me laugh more than us having a nerdy recruiting discussion.
Yeah, this is really boring.
I'm gonna hit you with some real Chad.
Yes.
Mark this moment in time. I'm about to get real nerdy.
Okay.
But I don't know when I get to have Adam on in a way to have just this nerdy question that I want to ask.
All right.
So knowing what we said about the running back position a second ago, right? Which is, and I'm in tune with Adam. Like we are like this with regards to how we're valuing talent. People want to say, well, why do you guys care about the NFL? All that should matter is how they're going to do in college. And it's like, well, I actually understand what you're saying, but the NFL actually determines for us who the elite guys are in ways that are indisputable. Like we can say it doesn't matter, but we really do remember who gets drafted in the first round. And you know what? When we get judged, when rankings get judged once a year, it's always when the NFL draft runs around. And it's never, did Rivals get this guy right as a college player? It's, did they get him right as a guy getting drafted into the NFL? So I understand what some of you guys are saying. That being said, allow me to get even nerdier. Okay. So I did my running back stats and look, this is just from the state of Texas, these historical numbers. I've done other positions, all 20 plus years of Rivals data. I have not done that with running backs. But from the state of Texas, 50% of all of the 5-star running backs that Texas has ever produced, going back to Adrian Peterson as the first 5-star guy, 50% drafted by NFL teams, 70% played in the NFL, right? So for full transparency, the names on the list of guys that were ended up drafted, Adrian Peterson, 1st round, Christian Michael, 2nd round, Lake Seastrunk, 6th round, Brandon Williams, 3rd round, Zach Evans, 6th round. Then there are a couple of other guys that also played in the NFL. When we drop it down to high 4 stars, 50% also drafted by the NFL, which is a rare number where the two tiers are completely aligned. Usually there's an obvious gap between those two things. Nobody else played in the NFL historically from these numbers. All of these guys would be Jamal Charles, Michael Goodson, Cyrus Gray for Chad. Hey now. J.K. Dobbins, a few other guys. Then you drop down to the tier below that, the mid 4-star guys. Now it's at 23%, right? And then you go down below that, the number drops even more so. It's 20% for low 4 stars historically that have turned into NFL drafted players. Does the fact that, here's my question, Adam, does the fact that the 5 stars and the 4 stars, the high 4s at the running back position hit at such a really high rate relative to some of the other positions, not as high as quarterback, not as high as defensive line, but do the numbers historically that they usually pan out, again, 70% of 5-star running backs historically over the course of the last 20 plus years play on Sundays, 70. Is that good enough that makes us think keep it the same? Or does the historical data instinctively make us think that under the considerations that you're currently making, right, which is maybe some of these running backs should be pushed down a little bit because they're not going to be 10 second-round running backs or 6 or 7. What are historical numbers like that for the running back position just by itself? Does it make you think anything?
Yeah, so I think a few things. One, I think playing on Sundays and being ranked as a 4 or 5 means that we've hit on them. So that's the first thing. But when we're talking about 1st round draft picks, the top 32 picks in the NFL draft, I would like to see you've done a phenomenal job, Ketch, breaking down the numbers, but I'd like to see, if those 1st round grades were reflected in their NFL performance, not just playing in the NFL, not just continuing to play in the NFL as some of these guys have, but are they the starting running backs on their teams? Are they
only Peterson?
Yeah. So that's where
Christian Michael had a fine NFL-ish career, right?
Right.
He earned his NFL pension, but never. Adrian Peterson's the only guy from the 5 stars.
Yeah. So, and there's still some out there that would have a chance, I would hope, but we'll see, just how that plays out. It's definitely an interesting thing, but when we're talking about first rounders, and this is, I think, is also important for people who are listening, it's NFL draft position, and that's where it stops. Once the Cleveland Browns have him and he's great or he's terrible, that can't be a determining factor into our rankings. It's college performance and NFL draft position. So that's where, I think we need to be cognizant if we're going to be far less giving of 5-star running back grades. Not that they can't happen. Like, I would have really hated myself if we moved Bijan Robinson off 5-star after his performance, in the summer before he had gone to Texas at the 5-star challenge, where he was just absolutely dominant, or Najee Harris or some of these guys. But there were recruiting classes where we would have like 5 or 6 first round running backs, 5 stars. And it was because they're good, or they're really dominant, or they ran for 2,000 yards last season. And I think we need to be more nuanced in our thinking there. And I just wrote about this today, and it's a completely different position, but I'll ramble into the recruiting nerddom here. 19 of the last 26 number 1 picks have been quarterbacks, from Peyton Manning to Bryce Young. So I asked the question, should we really just almost always lean, even if they're not the best player?
Yes.
Even if they're not the best player. If Williams and Warney is the best player in this class, if Jeremiah Smith might be Julio Jones 2.0, can we ever, almost never, not take a quarterback number 1? And I'm sort of leaning toward, it's going to be tough to move Dylan Raiola off number 1 because of that fact. Like, teams are going to take quarterbacks number 1. The last wide receiver taken number 1, Keyshawn Johnson in 1999. So we're talking about a quarter of a century. So Jeremiah Smith might be the most dominant player we've seen in a long time at wide receiver, but he's not going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft based on historical patterns. So it's like sort of like that. We don't want to be beholden to, running backs aren't important anymore, but we also want to be considerate of running backs might not be important as we once thought. There might not be many Bijan Robinson top 5 or 7 running back picks. So why should we reflect them in that top 10 in our rankings?
Man, that was some nerdy stuff right there. Ketch, that is unbelievable. Adam, one more from me. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
So when I was in high school, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I was at Eminem when he was just coming out.
Oh, stop.
Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre made a surprise performance.
Wow.
But then when I was at Penn State, I saw Bruce Springsteen play for 3.5 hours straight. So
walk me through that real quick, because I'm not a total Bruce head, but I'm also not a hater. What is it about the time? I feel like it's almost like the people that have had sex with Sting or Prince back in the day. What is it about?
Ketch could talk to that.
Like, what is it about the 3.5 that's key? At what point into it, is it like a runner's high? Like, as he's getting to 245, do you just get overwhelmed with something? Why does the time end up being important?
You know how, like, when you're watching a football game and you're into the second quarter and you're getting going, and then it's halftime, and then it's like half of the third quarter is just sort of getting back into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no downtime. He doesn't take intermission. So he goes straight for 3.5 hours.
Right.
So as you're sipping on the kidney, and you're having a drink at the top of the Bryce Jordan Center, it's getting pretty good. And I'm from the Northeast, and he's there, and he's singing about Atlantic City, and he's singing about the New Jersey Turnpike, and he's doing all that kind of stuff. It's not bad.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good stuff.
I think I can do this, Chad. Let me explain it for you. Maybe it's like the idea of like tantric sex or something like that, because at about the 2-hour mark,
that's why I brought up the Sting.
at a peak. This is what Bruce does. At 2 hours, your head is at its optimal level of like you're jamming out. And Bruce does a fantastic job of from 2 to 3.5 hours, you stay at this constant state of I'm rocking out at the highest level that I can. There's a sustainability of the high that I think Bruce and his band have forever been great at.
Yeah. Plus, I'm a big Sopranos fan, and seeing the guitarist Stevie Van Zandt on there, it's just awesome too.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Adam, you were fantastic. Thank you for letting me do my Caden Durham thing. I've been wanting to do that for like 6 months. Like I'm captain of the president, the fan club, and yet I know that kid's not going to be a first round draft pick. And and so it's like, I think he's a 5-star, but maybe by the definition of what 5 stars are these days. Thank you. Thank you for letting me have that. It felt very therapeutic. Great job. Honestly, anytime. Of all the guests that we've had on since we launched the show yesterday, you're by far and away the best in terms of technology. Chad, crystal clear, no audio problems.
Hey, you know what?
Total pro.
Billy Liucci's tech team could learn a lot from you, Adam. That's all.
Well, he's got the money for it. I don't.
He does, Adam. That's the thing about what's happened in the past 2 days. Billy could buy us, and yet his technology was terrible. Adam, have a great rest of the week, man. Have a great weekend. We really do appreciate it.
See you guys.
You got it. Adam Gorney from Rivals.com. Don't you guys get mad. Don't. I watch the crowd numbers, Chad. And like, they love the recruiting talk.
Oh, they do. Of course they do. Of course they do. It's wonderful, nerdy stuff. All right, give me a time thought here. Do we need to be going right now? Do we still have a couple minutes? What's going on?
Oh, I forgot. We're supposed to get out early.
Are we supposed to be out again at like 50 after or what?
Blake says crap bag, then wrap.
All right, you know what? I just one quick moment I need to have, Ketch, because today is Tom Brady's 46th birthday. So Blake, can you help me? I still need to remember what it was like as a Bucs fan to see that man throw a football for that team. Let me soak it up for a second.
Do you worship him because he won you a ring?
It is partial worship, absolutely. He got me as a Bucs fan a ring I never thought was coming, and it's 2 instead of 1 in my life, and I love the man to death. But the other part, Ketch, it's because there's this other image in my head I'm trying to get used to, and it is a little terrifying right now that one of those guys is gonna take the next important snap. And Ketch, I'm hearing right now that Baker's slipping. I'm hearing that Kyle Trask is in the process of running Baker down. I saw 6 different articles today with that headline on it. I'm not kidding you.
You know, Baker and Anwar don't get along.
Is that right?
One of these days, we'll get Anwar on the show. We'll have him tell you his Baker Mayfield story, but like Baker called him out one time in public.
Nice. Wow. No,
how dare you, Texas media guy?
Think about it. Every team Baker Mayfield's been a part of, I don't care about. Tech, Oklahoma, and then with all no disrespect to Lake Travis, I'm not going to go over to high school level. I don't have feelings about, but he's never been on a team I like after that. So now I'm like, wait a minute. He may be the quarterback of the Bucs.
You're selling your soul.
It's crazy. I am a sick fan that has 2 NFL teams. I know it breaks the rules, but trust me. Once again, you see what show I'm on today. What I've chosen to do. I like to break the rules. But yeah, it's crazy to think, A, that he could be the quarterback, but B, that he could be beaten out by Kyle Trask. So I'm just trying to bask in the memory of Tom. Blake, let me see Tom one more time. One more time, Tom with the logo. Tom, where are you, baby? Oh, Ketch. The first time I saw him throw a deep out to Mike Evans, I literally almost started crying. It was so beautiful. Tommy, please come back. 46 years old today.
I really want to say F Tom Brady, and I almost just let the word slip out, but I'm going to let you have it. Guys, we got to go. Give us a like before you bail. There's 400 of you in the chat. We only got 200 and something likes. Hit the like button if you can on the way out. We will do this again tomorrow. We will not have Billy Liucci on, but not because we don't like Billy, but like we did 2 days and now we get to go on because we finally made it work. Rod Babers, the Rodcast.
Come on, Rod Babers.
I had a very, very important Texas alum reach out to me yesterday and say, I love what you guys are doing. I love Rod Babers. And he was like, how come I've never listened to him before? How come I've never seen him? I didn't have a good answer for like why that guy living in Austin hadn't listened to Rod Babers, but like Rod won over a really important big time Texas fan yesterday on day one of the Rodcast. He's next in less than 5 minutes. For myself, for Chad Hastings, for Blake, for Billy, aka Sam Elliott from Mask, and for Adam Gorney, who alienated and pissed off people in the chat to such a level, it warmed my heart. We'll see you guys.